So, Liereyy versus Hera, the tempo showdown in the final quarterfinals of King of the Desert 3. We are going to take a look at the draft of the two players. We will have Hera picking Lithuanians, banning Aztecs over here, Vikings with a strong eco, Mayans. I like the Slavs here, and Hera showing some love to the Burmese. What is this? Burmese is one of the most underpicked civs. There were instances of Burmese being picked. In fact, this is an updated stat already. In the entire tournament, 6 times were Burmese picked. It's a super interesting civilization selection here for Hera with such an open map. I don't really know what to think about that Burmese selection over there. On the other hand, we are going to have Chinese, Franks, Malians, Celts, Japanese, and Vietnamese. The other head-scratching decision is a Japanese pick. Japanese, I think, is, alongside Britain's, one of the most disappointing civs of the tournament. Japanese, 5 games being played, 0 wins. They are so much of a one-trick pony that they just rely so heavily on the men-at-arms. If they don't do enough damage with their men-at-arms, after that, they are pretty much potato. Their archer build is nice, but they don't have any great eco bonus that would help them compared to, like, let's say Vikings that have great eco bonus. They don't have a good cavalry line. Their Castle Age cavalry is acceptable, but in Imp they don't have the +4 armor, so they are rather vulnerable to archer fire. So because of all of this, I really don't like the Japanese pick over here for Liereyy. There is no guarantees he's gonna pick it, but it is what it is. Chet is saying double castle run by for Burmese. Well, if he wants to die, sure. If you, like, you need the best map KOTD3 has ever seen to go for a double castle run by push on this. There is no way. And also, double castle run by will pretty much just be clapped by, like, for example, you need some sort of predecessor for that. It's just probably like a scouts play. You could be pushed quite hard at the beginning by archers and pikes, or archers and spears. One of the biggest weakness of Burmese is archer saves, and in fact, the main reason why Burmese is not a good pick overall in an open map like Arabia is because they're pretty much just absolutely vulnerable to all the archer fire. So even if you somehow get to decent amount of a run by, they will die to archers, and in the long run, Burmese die to archers because their skirms are potato. They are missing the final 2 armor upgrades for their archers, so their best they can get is +1 armor, which is very, very bad. So this might just be Hera not using this civ, or maybe he has a plan. Burmese can be good for a men-at-arms towers play, especially considering that the Japanese and Celts were taken. So if you want to rank the top 3 men-at-arms civilizations in terms of like the combat capabilities of the men-at-arms, then you probably do Celts first in my perspective because of the speed and the fact that you can choose which fight you take. Then you have Japanese with the attack speed bonus, and then you have Burmese with the extra attack. Same thing as Magyars, by the way. Because actually it's better for Burmese in the long run, because if Burmese get forging, then they will have +2 in feudal age even. But yeah, technically, after Celts and Japanese, Burmese met-arms are legit, and I could see a tower play. Like, if Hera wants to tower, Burmese is not a bad civ to use. By any means. The relic bonus, or like the relic reveal bonus of Burmese will not be a factor here, because he banned Aztecs, he's Lithuanians. There is no point picking Burmese just to spot relics exclusively. Let's talk about Lierey's draft here. I like Chinese and Franks as a versatile pick. Malians getting more and more popular amongst the pros in the late stage of the game. Celts, I like it quite a bit. Japanese, and Vietnamese is the laming civ for Liereyy here. One of the big things that you get with Vietnamese is the chance to see your opponent's TC, and I'm somewhat surprised that Vietnamese were only played 6 times, because I feel like if you want a archer civ that has a reasonable eco bonus, not as good as the eco bonus of Vikings, of course, but it's still a good eco bonus. And the fact that you can see your opponent's TC, this combined actually means that you are going to be able to get a very, very good lane in. Anyways, we do have the game over here, the Tempo Storm Showdown, shall begin. Here we go, game number 1 in this best of 5. So welcome everybody, this is going to be game number 1 in a best of 5. We're going to switch to blue and green, or blue and red from blue and green, because of colorblind people, so they can also differentiate the colors. So we are going to have Tempo Storm Hera on the left side as Lithuanians in blue. Right side we'll have Liereyy as Franks in red. Both of the players are from Tempo Storm. It's basically a new esports organization trying to get some AoE foothold as well. They have 2 players. Basically, both of these players are some of the best in the world. For an AoE team, you ideally need 4 players, so there is a chance Tempo is going to start getting some more players, but for now, the only 2 players that Tempo has are going to match it out against each other, and one of them will have to leave King of Desert free over here as a quarterfinalist. We're going to have Liereyy with a rather decent berry and gold spot. Stone spot is acceptable, and this is a rather volable map for him. Other side is going to be a 2 militia drush from Hera with Lithuanians. This is super interesting to talk about. Lithuanians and Franks are already one of the more popular civilization matchups over here, but Hera is going to basically start or do what he started out with. The 2 militia drush was a build order that Hera has invented when Definitive Edition was released. Even to this day, this is one of his most frequently viewed YouTube video. And I firmly believe that one of the reasons why Hera's grow as big as a streamer was this build order. Because this build order allowed him to have huge amount of viewership on YouTube, and this is a great build. This is so good as a build, and he is going to kill a villager here from Liereyy, I believe. Indeed, here goes one. The big advantage that you get with the 2 militia drush is that you will most likely hit your opponent when he does not have loom. Liereyy was completely unprepared for this one, and that is a super early villager kill for Hera. The other thing that you get with Lithuanian 2 militia drush is that you can follow this up just as well as any other drush in the game. So technically it is possible, as Hera is denying the other elephant here as well. Oh boy. Liereyy is an excellent player, but he wasn't prepared for this one, and right now, Hera is just doing an absolutely amazing job, just absolutely disintegrating Lierey's eco. And in fact, he's gonna try and kill the elephant. I don't think that this is against the rules, and if he kills the elephant, that's 0 food, and honestly, this is fine. He killed the villager with the militias. He's totally fine. He doesn't really need those militias, especially if Liereyy gets loom, these militias aren't going to be important. And he killed the elephant from Liereyy. This is even worse than it's not really worse than laming it away, but since laming is nearly impossible, this is the best that Hera can get to really cripple Lierey's eco. And with Franks, you count on your fast feudal with the berry bonus, potentially some deer being pushed in to get a fast feudal in. That is just not going to happen here. Hera is playing this one super clean, and you can see that he came in here with a plan. Oftentimes, people are saying that Hera is the player that plays one of the cleanest meta play, and that is true. Basically, he is indeed a very, very clean meta player. He follows classic build orders and executes them very, very well. In this case, he brought in something new. This is a build order that was seen before, as look at that, he even traps Lierey's scout in here. Liereyy is the one that was known for his flashy micro and these insane and crazy moves, but right now it is Hera who is just really stomping Liereyy to the ground over here in this one. I mean, if Liereyy said GG here, I would say okay, I accept it. Because technically he's still not dead, but I mean, he lost his scout, he lost the villager, lost the boar, and he's probably very, very tilted as well. Liereyy at the end of the day will still be able to go for what is going to be, or what should be a 20 pop scouts timing. But these 2 militias really paid for this price. The reason why we're not seeing this 2 militia rush very often is because it's not an easy build order. It's actually a pretty hard build order to do, and you really need to be efficient with the militias to make use of it. And let's be honest, the only reason why Hera was able to pick off a villager from Liereyy is because Liereyy had that villager isolated on the left side. that is actually a mistake from Liereyy. We didn't talk about that, but having 2-1 split of your villagers on one side of your wood line is not good. Because then the villager alone can be killed. Compare that to Hera before. Hera had 3 villagers on this side of lumber camp. So you'd never want to have 1 villager on the side on one side of lumber camp. You always want to have at least 2. When you have 4 villagers on wood, you add 2 to each side. When you have 3 on wood, you add 3 to one side. Because you don't want an isolated villager that could be picked off by the scout or a drush like that. So, yep, Hera's build order here. This is what he invented, and now he's coming in with clutch here. If Liereyy had some quick wars, this wouldn't have been this efficient, but still, killing the elephant is actually super important. I'm somewhat surprised Hera is not killing the zebras as well, because that gives some food for Liereyy, and Hera could very well go for the food denial play here. Kill the ostriches as well, and then Liereyy isn't gonna have a great amount of food in the bank. Field age time is actually better for Liereyy here, and I'm pretty sure that Hera is going to follow this up with an archer play. Lithuanians are just as good as archers as any other civ is, so that is absolutely acceptable. Their crossbows are also okay, and if Liereyy moves towards skirmishers in the long run, because he will need to if we are talking about like archer and spear push from Hera, then Hera can just switch back into knights, and that plays right into the hands of Lithuanians. So I think this is really good for Hera so far. The wheels, you're saying that you can't really control it. Wheels are reassing. Yes, that is correct. And you have to manually fix them, believe it or not. Like, I actually had this as part of my coaching from Nikov, I believe, that yes, villagers will reset them automatically and go for another tree, and you have to sometimes go back and fix that. Because if you don't, then you are going to suffer from like what we did here. So, basically, it is not something that is easy to do. It requires a lot of APM to just keep looking at the wood lines and see if everything is fixed. But for example, you will have to fix this villager at one time because this is inefficient, and at some point Liereyy is going to look here and fix this wheel. And that is what differentiates good players from great, is that great players will have the chance and the skill set to also fix their villagers on wood lines, replace lumber camps when needed. So indeed, it's not easy to do by any means, but it is what you have to do in order to take the next step ahead. Hera is gonna be playing with 1 range, and that is going to be a fast fletching for him. I think he saw the scouts coming his way, so he could try rolling this in. No walls just yet, but it's just 2 scouts. One of them is weaker than it is potentially possible, and the single spearman is going to defend here quite nicely. Spearman comes in here as well from Liereyy, and it appears Hera is gonna move forward with 1 spearman and 2 archers. I feel like it would have been better if Hera waits for a 3rd archer, because that's really the threshold here, and now he forces Liereyy to play with skirms. I think that's exactly what Hera wanted to achieve here. Now, that being said, he's going to be forced back, and Hera might need to also add his own skirms, but if Liereyy is heavy on skirmishers, that's going to play right in the hands of the Lithuanian player that wants to go for knights at the end of the day. Hyuna coming in with the controversial bits here. Is GL Dynasty over? I think AoE Zone is the perfect place to ask this question. I already proposed that, but yeah, no spoilers on that. So, anyways. Okay, AoE Zone drama post already created. Great, I'm gonna take a look at this when I'm having my dinner after this series. So, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I'm pretty sure there is going to be drama threads. As always. There is always drama threads on AoE Zone. Anyways, Liereyy is going to be fully walled over here. And this means that Hera could be in trouble here. I mean, the skirmishers are now going to pretty much push him back. And despite the fact that Hera's start here was amazing, now Hera is in a bit of a trouble here. Forced off from his berries. He's going to have to move with some scouts, but his scouts are weaker than the ones from Liereyy. Liereyy does have the extra HP in these. On the other hand, if Hera arrives here on time, he could potentially stop these walls Liereyy is falling back. I think that Liereyy does not expect the archers to come in here. He needs a house. He needs a house, and he is gonna do that. Loses one villager though in the process. Is he gonna lose it? Yes, he will. I would have been mad if Liereyy doesn't lose that well, because that would have been just massive Liereyy plays. Anyways, here come the scouts. This is going to be a kind of inefficient fight for Hera. I like that he's taking this choke point fight, at least you can call it more or less a choke point, but once again a rather inefficient fight for Hera, and as good as his start was, the follow-up isn't that super amazing, as right now his army gets cleaned up, military numbers are still pretty close, so are the economies, but right now Hera has invested a lot into his archers and they didn't come back, plus we are seeing the big dilemma between Lithuanians and Franks here. Lithuania is missing horse color, and Franks having horse color for free means that Frankish eco is going to be a lot more efficient. Hera had to plant a lot of farms before horse color over here, and that hurts very badly in the long run. There's just one spearman, so technically Liereyy could think about the option of running in here. There's a second spearman, some scouts coming in though, so nice quick walls from Hera until the point where he masses this one up. No villager is lost, and there is some spearmen defending, so I don't think that we're going to see a lot of villagers killed here, but still, this is a super close matchup. Okay, now Hera comes in with his own scouts. It is a 6 versus 5, and a spearman supporting, so this is not a fight that Liereyy can take, but this is way better for Liereyy. And we talked about the many aspects of Lierey's gameplay yesterday with Nili. One of the things that Liereyy does amazing is have a great eco behind the micro that he's doing, and this is exactly what we're seeing here. He's controlling his scouts very nicely, took a good fight using the hill advantage, and behind this one he has a crystal clean eco. In fact, he has a little bit too much on gold, so if he had a market he could buy himself up to Castle Age, but even if he doesn't, actually has a market now, so he is going to do that, and at the end of the day he's gonna have a better Castle Age time, despite the fact that he suffered from a significant deficit in Dark Age economy. And, well, maybe I was wrong saying that I would have understood if Liereyy GG's in Dark Age. I don't think it's a great idea to GG in Dark Age, but I would have completely understood Liereyy if he says, okay, I'm tilted and I'm just gonna quit this one. But instead, he feels like Franks are capable of beating Lithuanians, and it is important to point out that according to the statistics, Lithuanians barely had the chance to beat Franks. Most of the times it's Franks rebuilding. It's something like 1 out of 5 games that Lithuanians won against Franks. So the save advantage theoretically is on the side of Liereyy right now. Hera's gonna have some archers out here, but Liereyy has enough skirmishers to deal with them. There is going to be a double stable play here. We didn't talk about the relic distribution, but that is actually pretty even, I would say. 2 that is pretty good for Liereyy, maybe a third one that's decent. Hera has one over here in this corner, and this one is pretty much neutral. The question is, what does Hera see? Hera sees 3 relics. He can pick this one up, and he can probably pick this one up as well. It's pretty unlucky that he does not see the relic at the back, which is probably the easiest to pick up. Other side for Liereyy, this is some AM level scouting over here for Liereyy, as we only have a 20 seconds difference between the Castle Age times of the players. So, looking at this, Liereyy should do a better job at trying to look for relics, because he needs to prevent Hera from getting to relics. Like, you don't want more than 1 relic for a Lithuanian player, otherwise you could be in trouble. So here come the knights, and let's see what Liereyy decides by. He's gonna drop a TC over here on the stone and the wood for an early castle, and going for a monastery. That's basically what you have to do in a night war. Just go for double stables and a monastery for the conversions, whereas here with the barracks we are going to have no spearmen from Liereyy. I could have imagined a few spearmen being added here just for some additional advantage. Whereas for Hera, he's adding no spearmen either. Looking at the upgrades, it's +1 defense for Hera. Liereyy has +1 attack. So this is pretty much even. Bloodlance is in for both players. But that could be a villager picked off, honestly. And that would be kind of sloppy from Hera, because, like, that was completely an unnecessary loss here. In fact, Liereyy is trying to snipe another one over here. Looking pretty nice. So, at this point, this is a 2 villagers advantage for Liereyy, and Liereyy already has heavy plow because he's Franks, and also Boso. So right now the eco is much better for Liereyy, and look at that, he's dragging away the Knights of Hera on one side, diving in on the other. That Monk popped out at the worst possible moment, takes 2 hits to take down, indeed. Not the most efficient fight for Liereyy over here, because he's gonna still lose 1 Knight, but at the end of the day, he's bringing in some more. And is that free stables? Because it feels like he's producing Knights very fast, but no, it's just double stables, brings in the Monks. He sends 1 Knight to the back of Hera's base. Look at that. Look at all the waypoints. He's just dragging away the Knights from the front line so he can actually push the gold mine of Hera. That gold mine is dangerously exposed, and the counterattack from Hera should achieve nothing because there is no hole on Lierey's walls. There is apparently a hill advantage here for Liereyy that he's taking this fight with. He's still going to lose the Knight. He also managed to apparently take 2 goats from Hera. Hera didn't find those 2 goats because he was busy with the drush he had. But now the leftover skirmishers can really pay off for Liereyy here, because he could just use those to pick off random spearmen and random monks. And remember that one of the ways I think Liereyy beat Winchester in one of the previous rounds in the group stage was that Winchester had like 3 relics, and Liereyy just went for on a full-out aggressive push with monks and knights and swarmed the monastery, and this way it's fine. The reason why it's fine is because there is no chance for Hera to bring in relics anyways here, right? That is going to be a monk getting picked off, but this I think is a better fight for Liereyy, as he's also pressuring the gold mine of his opponent. Hera is forced to fall back, and after an amazing drush, Liereyy comes back from a huge deficit. Now it's 5 villagers lead and no gold for Hera. I think Hera might be done in this game here. Knights on his wood line. Things are falling apart from Hera. And, well, it appears that Liereyy, as I said, after suffering from a huge deficit at the beginning of the game, comes back strong. And now he has a very confident 10 villagers lead with 2 TCs up, whereas for Hera he has 1 TC. This actually there's a second TC for Hera, but Hera's eco is just not great. 3 on wood, 6 on food, 0 on gold. He's unable to replenish his build units here. He's just unable to replenish anything. Hera taps out, and I'm actually somewhat impressed on how good Liereyy could come back into this one. And so many times we talked about Liereyy, it's not necessarily about the flashy micro. It's about the macro behind the micro, and that is huge for Liereyy. The fact that he didn't get knocked out of his rhythm, even after losing the villager at the beginning, losing the board at the beginning, is just super good. And this is looking bad for Hera, because Hera had a massive advantage at the beginning of the game, couldn't finish the game off here. And Liereyy, look at that fight. That's basically it. Thank you for the bits, Hayuna, by the way. Liereyy back from the hell. Indeed he is. And that is a 1-game advantage for our Austrian player here, who is fighting for the semifinals. In the Red Bull Vololov 2 finals, I think it was Hera losing to Liereyy again, right? I'll have to check. Yes, it was a 4-3 victory for Liereyy against Hera in Red Bull Vololov 2 finals. Right now they are fighting against each other over here. Tempo Storm players. Hera falls behind by 1 game in this one, in what was a kind of impressive comeback from Liereyy at the end of the day. So with that in mind, we are gonna have Lithuania's crossed out and Frank's crossed out for the 2 players. Let's see what Hera is up to. Hera really likes Mayans. That could be a plan. We could see Mongols and try to play for Mangudais. On the other hand, I don't think Liereyy is gonna pull the trigger on Japanese or Vietnamese just yet. Japanese feel like a one-trick pony for me with the men-at-arms. Vietnamese, decent archer civ, but it's very focused on laming and not so great with cavalry. So, not really a big fan of these. So I think it's going to be maybe Chinese from Liereyy. Chinese would make sense. Malians or Celts would also make sense in this one, but definitely not Japanese. And Vietnamese on the other side, probably not Burmese, unless Hera has a sick plan for them, but I'm not sure what that sick plan could possibly be that would justify using Bulgarians in this one. In this best of 5, being down by 1 game actually is super significant. So this is a huge deficit for Hera, especially after the rather amazing start that he was able to get for himself. Imagine if Liereyy goes for the Drush himself and maybe picks off a Vulture from Hera. So Liereyy was able to win this game from a huge deficit. Now, in an even game, this could be even more dominating for Liereyy, but instead of any further predictions or anything, we are going to just jump straight into game number 2. Liereyy is going to play Malians on the left side in red. Right side is going to be Hera playing in blue as Vikings. Interesting. I like the Vikings pick from Hera, one of the saves that has an amazing eco behind that one. But you kind of need a decent-ish map to be able to use them well. I think this map is actually good enough for Hera for that. Look at that. Super easy wall-off on the right side. This gold mine is a bit exposed, but I don't think that you want to fight for that. Technically, it's wallable here and here, but this might be too much work for Hera. And we could just see him walling, like, over here, for example. Yeah, this is the best wall for Hera, in fact. Wall in between this house and over here. Wall here, wall here. You secure this gold mine. And then you might not even need to wall here, but the best way to do this would be to wall here. And then you have a safe gold at the back, stone at the back, and this gold mine can also be used pretty nicely. So this is a great map for Hera, something that could be good enough for Drush FC. And when we're talking about Drush FC has been extremely dominant in this tournament so far. So that build order would definitely be something that works out very well on this map. Liereyy, on the other hand, squeezes in a Vulture in between the lumber camp, or at least this is going to be a lumber camp spot indeed. This is a super efficient Vulture, that's why you do that, plus it's safe from scouts at the beginning. Liereyy is missing out on 2 of his sheep right now, but he's got a gold mine at the back, and the berries, not so great. In fact, in the middle of nowhere, stone mines also aren't amazing, and Liereyy doesn't really have a lot of safe wood lines, so this is definitely a map win here for Hera, the way I see it, at least. So, yep, Hera is going to be fine with everything, not going for any super aggressive strategies. So Vikings versus Malians, the eco advantage is definitely on the side of the Vikings player. On the other hand, I think Malians have a lot bigger versatility. Their cavalry play is stronger, their man-at-arms opening is a little bit more convincing. So I actually like Malians a little bit more here. It depends though. If Hera is able to like mass up a decent amount of archers and use the power spikes he has, like early Castle Age with a Drush FC, or like a relatively fast Imperial if he has a decent amount of crossbows and go Arblast and Ram, it could be good. But in the long run, I actually prefer Lierey's Malians until we get to late Imperial. In late Imperial, Malians are lacking bracers, so their skirmishers are rather potato, and because of that, I think that the Malians need to win this game before Imperial. As Hera comes in here trying to block the Vulture, tries to block it. The Rhino attacks faster, by the way, and Liereyy is gonna lose a Vulture once again. This could still be a good sign for him though, because the last time he lost a Vulture in this tournament was the previous game where he won it. Beautiful moves from Hera, although he lost a lot of HP on that scout, so you could question if this was worth it. You could really question that, because that scout is going to be super important for Hera. If he loses that scout, he's gonna have no information. We're going to have a premier Drush from both players over here. And let's see, Liereyy is trying to block the Rhino now. He's trying to take revenge on Hera for that. It appears that he just accidentally bumped into the Rhino though, because he's not actively trying to block that. Liereyy coming in with a fast loom over here for himself, as the militias are already marching through the map. Hera doesn't have loom on his Vulture, so he's gonna have to run away here with this will, just going for the berries. And the good news here for Liereyy is that he's going to be walled on the berries and he's gonna have loom. Hera on the other side, is this trying to be a man-at-arms play from him? Because he's not producing militias. I initially thought this is a premium Drush, and the barracks timing actually indicates that by far. But on the other hand, I am not so certain anymore, because Hera is not making anything here. He's taking 10 gold, so this should be a premium Drush, but he's got no militias queued up, and that is a little bit surprising for me, because Liereyy can just walk into his base here with the militias, And since there is no Loom for Hera, he could be in trouble. Here comes Loom, but those villagers are trying to go the wrong way. Liereyy could actually use the scout to block them. Hera just needs to hold out until he gets Loom, but that is still a villager that's taking a lot of damage. A lot of damage is being taken, but I think the villager goes back to safety. On the other hand, Hera loses his scout here to the militia, so as I said, right now Hera's gonna be without information and that hurts quite badly. Also had to evacuate his berries for a brief amount of time, but at least he didn't lose a villager like Liereyy did. However, both players do have Loom, and I think that Liereyy is actually just like half a villager ahead of, or Hera is half a villager ahead of Liereyy. So Hera probably had some idle time on his units, and it appears that one of these militias somehow get trapped in here and will be finished off by the villagers. Nice moves from Hera to do so. And what's the plan for Hera? This looks like no drush into archers, basically, because he's not doing a drush. But on the other hand, he's not even clicking up at 24 villagers. What is this? Same thing for Liereyy. This is 24 vills right now for him. He is going Drush Flush. But on the other hand, I think Hera might be greedy enough to go for a Drush FC here. Because this uptime looks like a Drush FC to me. Although he will not have the food for it, so it's still questionable. But if this is not a Drush FC, then this is super late for a Drush Archers play. We're talking about 27, 28 villagers. That's way too late for a Drush Archer play, because Liereyy is gonna do the exact same thing, but with 24 vills. Which is already a 25 vil uptime, because Liereyy lost a villager. So I don't really like this for Hera. He's making his militias right now. I guess he just wants to clean this one up for the time being. But still, 28 villagers. Like, this legit looks like a Drush FC timing. But there is no way this is a Drush FC with just 27 food in the bank for Hera. But if this is a Drush into archers, I don't like it because it's very, very late. And Liereyy is gonna have the time to wall himself. Liereyy is gonna have the time to get his archer range done a lot faster. And he will be the player that can start pressuring his opponent because he's gonna have better archer numbers. Now, Hera could be fully walled by then. And I think that is going to be the case. Hera is on the way to feudal age, and Liereyy, on the other hand, is just up. He lamed himself here a tiny bit with that archer range placement, so the villagers have to walk all the way around. But yeah, double bit axe is on the way for Liereyy a little bit faster as well. And Hera's base is still open. The fact that these militias are in here mean that it's a lot harder for Hera to wall these bases off, and I think that's exactly what Liereyy wants. Just wants to keep a hole open as long as possible, tries to keep his own scout alive, nice macro, finishes off one militia from his opponent, and just wants to keep an opening here and give him the chance to get a few archers into the base of his opponent. Indeed, Spearman comes in first. You probably don't expect scouts here from your opponent, it's just because you want something to be on the front line. Something that can fight and that can delay the wars from happening. So the Spearman is actually pretty useful. Nice macro once again from Liereyy for damaging that militia over there. And I have to say that Liereyy still kept two of his militias at a pretty decent HP. Now one of them dies. But it appears that the scout is and militia will just try second layering this wall. At least try to deny the second layering. Archers and spears on the way. Indeed, that's the plan. Liereyy wants to hit the gold mine because Hera is going to be fully walled here on the left side using the TC. Here comes the militia from Hera, and this is a problem for Hera. Because, first of all, his wood line here could be harassed by one archer, but more importantly, the scout and being alive is a huge thing here for Liereyy. Scout militia will be able to get through the walls rather easily, and right now, Hera, the first thing he needs to do is kill that scout. So, look at that, he's looking for it. He's looking for a scout kill, tries to add a second layer here, but Liereyy is doing this one super, super nicely. Spearman comes in here as well. I don't think Liereyy is going to get in here through these walls, but it really is forcing Hera to invest a lot of time into like trying to clean this one up. He even traps the militias in there though, credits to Hera for that. But looking at Hera, this actually is looking like FC resources if you take a look at it now. So I could imagine Hera just saying, okay, I'm safe within my base right now. So I'm just gonna go and click up to Castle Age as fast as possible and try to capitalize on a faster Castle Age push with crossbows. Liereyy, on the other hand, isn't super far away from Castle Age either, so both players just playing single range play here and probably focusing on getting a decent Castle Age time up compared to the opponent. I really like the melee compartment of Lierey's army here, just to make sure he can get through these walls a little bit easier. And that militia will probably never escape his captivity, even though he just needs to bash down this wall and this wall. Anyways, Scout is dead now for Liereyy. That's as long as he could keep it alive. Hera has a lot of weak vultures, which could be a problem in the long run for him, I think. Because technically, he could lose all those vultures in just, you know, a very, very brief amount of time. If a good raid comes in, all those weak vultures could just die. And that could be pretty significant. I like the market wall from Hera, just making sure that the archers don't bash their way through the walls. Indeed, Castle Age and Fletching is on the way for Hera. A little bit greedy, for my taste, is this build. But on the other hand, absolutely understandable. So, double market walls, once again, just hold out until you get into Castle Age and take that fight. In fact, Hera will probably send his archers forward and try to push with crossbows. Liereyy is on the way to Castle Age as well. For whatever reason, the overlay is not showing, but it actually is happening right now for Liereyy. So, we are gonna have full walls from Hera. Liereyy might be able to try and harass those wood lines. The Castle Age differences will actually be quite significant. So it's 30% right now for Liereyy, somewhere around 70 for Hera. So it's 40% difference, which is approximately 60 seconds. So yeah, there is a minute difference between the two players' Castle Age times, as Hera is already moving forward with the archers, trying to do some damage. Now, he might bump into some skirms or archers here, and that could be a little bit troublesome. Extra armor will also be on the side of Liereyy here, so that is going to be a little bit concerning for Hera. On the other hand, Hera could pick off a lot of voyagers on this wood line from Liereyy. Stable being added here by Liereyy, I like that. He wants to go for a mixture of crossbows and the knights, instead of just going for pure crossbow play. Adds a few skirmishers. I think he suspects Hera is sending his archers forward. I'm pretty sure he does. Looking at Lierey's POV, he does not have an idea on these crossbows coming in here, but he knows they are not here. So he probably knows that they are coming his way. He sees the archers. Let's see the reactions from Liereyy. A little bit unfortunate for Hera that he does not know about that wood line. Now he sees the trees being chopped, but that gives enough time for Liereyy to run away from that wood line. Tries to drop a market here as a defense. Hera is not reacting right now, so he's unable to pick off the voyagers over there. And it appears that Liereyy is just gonna bring his archers back and goes for an elite skirm play here at the beginning. So Knight elite skirm from Liereyy, that's a sneaky play here. He's got scaleboarding and elite skirm. I actually don't mind it, because Vikings will struggle against the elite skirm in Castle Age because they're just so one-dimensional with their army. If not, Vikings make a few knights, Malians can add a few camels. So really, Vikings might struggle against this knight and skirm play. I like this idea from Liereyy here, bringing in the elite skirms, and that seems to be a trap. I said trap.
It's a trap.
So, yep, that is going to be most of those crossbows being cleaned up. One or two might remain, but I'm pretty sure that like one skirm being sent over here should be able to clean that one up. A fast ballistics is on the way here from Hera. Liereyy decides by no ballistics. And on the other hand, Lierey's crossbows are doing a lot more damage to Hera's wood line. Hera will have to abandon that wood line over here. So Liereyy with the double town centers, he's gonna have some elite skirms on the field still. And I think the Knight Elite Skirm play is just paying off so well for Liereyy, or at least it's going to pay off very well, especially considering that he can pressure the wood lines of Hera. Hera is playing with 1 TC. If you go 1 TC here, there is a good chance of a 1 TC Imp, and that could be pretty strong for Vikings. Remember that the Vikings really get their advantage once they get to Arbalest and in Imperial, because Malians will not have Bracer to deal with those. But so far I really like Lierey's position here. And his military advantage with the elite skirms and knights could actually translate into a forward siege workshop and a pressure on this gold mine, I believe. Here come the knights to soak up some arrow fire. No bloodlines, and it got wiped pretty easily over here. Nice micro from Hera. Hera does have ballistics, Liereyy as well. +2 armor is in for Liereyy, not yet for Hera, but Hera does have the hill. And this is what a lot of people think when they say these two names. This flashy micro, both of these guys have like a sick micro. Hera and Liereyy just dancing around with the crossbows. Liereyy seemed to be out-microing Hera over here a tiny bit. But I think what really is outstanding here is that behind all of this, Liereyy is having a great eco. He is at 2 TCs, missing Boso, by the way. Hera does have Boso on the other hand, but Hera is piling up a lot of food, and as I said, technically, if he can keep his crossbow numbers high, a relatively fast Imperial here could still be in the party. So I wonder what Liereyy is planning here. Indeed, here comes the forward siege workshop. And scale barding will be added by Hera. So Hera wants to go for a few knights to deal with the elite skirms. So I think that Liereyy in this case could consider adding monks, because it's very unlikely that the Vikings player is going to play like double stable knights. So you can be fine with 2 or 3 monks easily to convert their knights, and then your mangonel push is still going to be strong. And Hera's gold mine here is still in a disturbing position. I like that there is a few elite skirms harassing the woodlines. Look at Liereyy, the 2-pronged attack. Moves in on the right side, knowing that Hera's gonna draw all his crossbows here. And immediately after, sends the skirms to harass this woodline, so that woodline gets empty and just harasses Hera's woodlines and wood income as much as it is possible. Now it is going to be knights on the way, elite skirms on the way. I don't think that Liereyy knows about that stable, but actually he sees it. So he could add a monastery, something that is just coming up over here. This is not looking good for Hera. His eco is there because he's got Boso and he's got handcart, whereas Liereyy doesn't even have a wheelbarrow. But on the other hand, Liereyy seems to have a pretty strong push over here. A second stable is on the way for Hera. So at the end of the day, he might want to switch back into 4 knights. Interesting decision, but not unheard of, to be honest. I'm not sure if Liereyy is going to see the second stable, though. He will not, but he will still make a few monks, and even if knights are there from Hera, Liereyy is still going to have camos available, and now Hera has to run for his gold. This single skirmisher can see if Hera is moving towards this gold mine. This gold mine might be the safest for Hera. Indeed, he's moving all his villagers in there, but he's going to lose the market, and that's not great when you have knights in your eco. Plus, Liereyy is going to see the double stable play very, very soon once he enters the base of Hera. Hera is going to lose that gold mine, and this push is looking extremely strong from Liereyy. Indeed, Liereyy sees the stables, but there isn't really a lot in those stables, to be honest. There's just 2 knights in one, and that's basically it. Firing downhills against the stables. I like that he's cleaning the way here, so he's gonna have a better opening. Crossbows trying to surround. Hera will try to unpop his knights, so he can try to snipe the mangonels, but Lierey's micro here is just so good once again. Look at that. Just 3 mangonels firing down hills, and those stables could go down super fast. Chain barding as well for Hera. Here he comes with the knights. There is no monks just yet for Liereyy. Liereyy tries to go ground attack, and he fires on his own knights. Oh, that's a disaster for Liereyy. This push looked so good, and now he's gonna lose the mangonels. This might be Hera's ticket back into this game, because this fight is absolutely Hera written all over it. Now, Liereyy does still have quite a lot of knights in here in the lead skirms, so this might not be that one-sided. But still, technically, Hera, from a very bad position, he came back into an acceptable one. And as I said, at the end of the day, he is going to clean this one up. And he's buying himself time to capitalize on the Boso, capitalize on the handcart, and capitalize on what is going to be an insane Imperial Age for the Vikings here. It appears that we're going to have a full transition, though, of Liereyy going into stables. Not 2 stables, not 3, but it's 4 stables will be added by Liereyy. And if Liereyy goes for +2 armor to just deal with the leftover crossbows, this could still be very, very dangerous here for Hera. Hera has a lot of low HP knights over here. He is going to take a rather disadvantageous engagement. There is no monk in the creation for Liereyy, and Liereyy is still missing +2 armor, which will hurt against those crossbows. But now Hera with a 10 villagers lead, and that is getting better and better for our Canadian in this one. It appears we're gonna have Squires and Scalmea, so Pikeman switch is going to happen here. Liereyy will need something to deal with those pikemen, like Cavalier and Hand Cannon could work nicely here for Liereyy. Loops around and tries to hit the eco of Hera. Hera is on 3 TCs right now, Liereyy is playing with only 2. That's probably one of the reasons why Liereyy fell behind, plus the fact that Liereyy had to research Wheelbarrow for himself. Liereyy on the other hand will actually run inside and will pick off a decent amount of villagers, that's -3 wheels, and even worse for Hera, this is totally worth it for Liereyy here. Look at all the slaughter and suddenly the villager counts are getting even in this one, and now Liereyy can just run away and say, okay, I'm done. In fact, he's splitting his forces even better. Drags some of the knights from Hera to the left side and also moves on the right side to split the attention of his opponent, and meanwhile starts sending in knights over here in the middle, denying the monastery. This monastery is denied at 95%, so no conversions will happen. Liereyy, at the end of the day, he loses his army, but he has managed to massively decrease the villager count of his opponent here. Like, to a point where it's basically even villagers between the two players. Liereyy is still without some critical eco upgrades, so this is not ideal for Liereyy, but from a situation that was bad for him, I'm saying that he actually went into a situation where it's actually okay for him. Some camels in the party as well, and there is still a lot of crossbows. Now the knights have +2/+2, so Liereyy could technically decide to take this fight, although I'm not sure if this is a good enough fight for him. Hera has way better numbers. Hera's way better numbers, and honestly, this is just Vikings eco. Vikings will have so much better eco here that despite the fact that their units individually are weaker, the Vikings will be able to push in Castle Age because they have a much better eco, so they can reproduce their units a lot easier. And as you're seeing this is huge trouble for Liereyy, who is falling behind. That one engagement where he lost all the knights and the Mangonels might have been the deciding factor in this game, and it appears that Hera is not going down without a fight here. That is now 6 militia only for Liereyy. He's trying to hold on to this one, but against pikemen, against crossbows, against knights here, this is going to be an insanely tough hold for Liereyy. He's behind by 1000 score, and Hera actually has the resource to click into Imperial very soon, whereas Liereyy is not even close, barely holding on to his belongings. It's very tough to say what to do, because there isn't really a clear answer here. It's just a so good composition for Hera. He's got crossbows, he's got pikemen, he's got knights, he's got everything. So there is no like clear answer. Liereyy will try to go for a counter raid here, which could work to try and split the attention of Hera. But now again, Hera is ahead by 10 villagers, and Liereyy will just try to raid and raid and raid, but that's not gonna happen. No way, Hera. No way, he's trying to trap that army in here, and that is a trap! That is a trap from Hera! He's going to punish Liereyy for that comeback, and that's basically GG for Liereyy. He had all the hope in that army to do some sort of damage. It's not just not doing damage, it's completely losing all of those units with that amazing trap. Hera is gonna say, get out of my game now. There is still some knights here from Liereyy, but I'm pretty sure this castle is gonna go up here. There is enough crossbows, spikes, and knights to make it happen. Hera is going to trap those knights in there. Absolutely nothing that Liereyy can do, and this is apparently going to be a 1-1 here, because if this castle goes up, Liereyy is in huge trouble. Hera will go Imperial any moment now. Apparently, he also cannot find a automatic reseed button, but yes, with that castle coming up in his face, Liereyy taps out, and we have an even series in between the two players. So, well, Hera not going down without a fight. This was massively influenced by the way better eco of Vikings, but also Hera's execution was great. The fight that he took against the Skirms and Knights there was absolutely top-notch. Still, you really gotta credit the Vikings eco here, which wasn't really showing that much, to be honest. Basically same wood, same food, and gold was even better for Liereyy, even though Hera mined 1000 stones, so there is still a little bit better eco for Hera overall. So, going back into the lobby, we are gonna add a score over here to Hera, and next up, we have an even game. So, with that, I'm gonna restart my game once again, just to make sure that we don't bump into any spectating bugs. Malians are gone. And we also have Vikings gone for Hera. So apparently Vikings was the second pick for Hera in the draft and in the games as well. There is a chance he's just following the order he picked the civs. Because technically he could just say, okay, these are my strongest civs, I'm gonna pick them in order, even though that's a little bit predictable and could actually give a chance for Liereyy to counterpick it. But there is a huge chance Hera is gonna go Mayans here. Other side, Liereyy has a Chinese, Celts, Japanese, and Vietnamese. If I had to make my predictions right now, I would probably say Japanese and Burmese are going to be... So Japanese and Burmese are going to be the unpicked civilizations in this series if we go to 5 games. We will see what Liereyy can do with Vietnamese, but don't underestimate Vietnamese. They can be super strong, and there's a chance that Liereyy is going to say, okay, I'm gonna pick Vietnamese here, and see what's up. Especially if he anticipates Hera going Mayans, Vietnamese might actually be an acceptable counter pick to that. Although it's tough to say. It's really tough to say. It is obvious that Liereyy is still keeping Chinese for a later game. We'll see what he plans with that. Maybe he's waiting for a good civilization matchup for Chinese, which is probably still the strongest civ that he has in his possession. Alright, so... with that, we are gonna have game number 3 in a matter of moments. I'm just gonna search for the game, and I guess they'll be starting in a brief moment. I'm gonna take a short moment to drink, so I'll be back in a second. So, no games up just yet. I'm a little bit surprised because quite frequently they are very, very fast at launching games, but it appears that Hera is taking a short break in between these games. So, we got a little bit more time to take a look at these drafts, I guess. So, Chinese remaining for Liereyy alongside Celts, Japanese, and Vietnamese. I'm not a big fan of the Chinese versus Mayans matchup, so I'm tempted to say that Liereyy could try saving Chinese until Hera uses Mayans. Celts would be a legit pick here for Liereyy. It has a strong mana terms opening, pretty versatile at the beginning of the game, and could be relatively decent at trying to counter a Mayans player. It's hard, but if you think about the fact that, like, at the end of the game, Void Raider Siege can somewhat deal with Mayans. Depends on Mayans. If Mayans have plumed archers, it's not easy, but it kind of limits Mayans' options to switch into Eagles that you have Void Raiders. So pretty much I'm going to classify Celts as one of the ways to potentially deal with Mayans. It's not obvious because Mayans still have a lot of great options. But on the other hand, I just believe that Celts with their Void Raiders are actually excellent at dealing with the Eagle switch. And they can get a decent matchup against Mayans in archer fights as well. So for all of that, I believe that Celts could be a legit pick here for Liereyy. Alright, so we have the game. Let's get in there. And the Liereyy is going to play the winless Japanese. Japanese were played 5 times in this tournament so far. 0 wins for them. Basically, if you classify all civs that have been played for more than 5 times, or even just 5 times, the only civ that has a 0% win rate among those is Japanese. What makes Japanese bad here? As we'll have Hera's Mongols on the left side in blue and the right side for Japanese in Liereyy. It makes them bad that their men-at-arms or militias are nice. That's great. However, that's basically the only thing that they can go for. After that, their archer play isn't amazing. Their eco bonus is nice with the cheaper drop-off buildings, but it's not something that's like a game changer like, let's say, a Vikings eco, for example. They have a good archer build. They have decent cavalry in Castle Age. But their Imperial Age cavalry is very, very bad because they're lacking the extra pierce armor. So they die to archers in there. And as I said, no amazing eco bonus to play around with. Whereas on the other side, Hera is picking Mongols. And I really like the Mongols over here overall. Hera's got a nice wood line here with 1-3 locking the entry towards his base. So Mongols could go for a fast feudal play here. Can play scouts, can play archers. Their biggest weakness is like mid to late Castle Age, I would say, when they don't really have their Mangodan numbers, but they're already planning to transition to them. So that's where Liereyy has to push, and that's a place where Japanese technically can push. Like a pike and siege push could work out nicely against the Mongols players. So I think that's what Liereyy could be considering. But if we are going into Imperial, Mongols would just absolutely tear apart the Japanese. So let's see. Berries aren't beautiful for Hera. This wood line is all locked in, nicely shielding Hera from Lierey's aggressions. Stone is nice. Wall off here is relatively easy. You have a wood on the back. Problem for Hera is this. 3 gold mines basically at the same spot, all of them at the bottom of elevation. This is awful. So the thing is that as we do have a laming attempt over here, Hera tried to block Lierey's villager once again, did not succeed at doing so. So at least he's gonna try to steal some of the goats. By trying to steal these goats, what you do is try to force your opponent to shoot his own goats with the town center. That's basically the plan here for Hera. So now Liereyy has his own goats back here, and Hera's gonna dive in and lame the goats once again. If he cannot steal them, he's gonna kill them, and once again, Liereyy is behind at the start. I think in every game so far, Liereyy was behind at the start. First game, he lost the villager, lost the boar. Number 2, he lost the villager, I think, to lame. Number 3, he lost 2 goats here. This is probably the smallest of all losses, as Hera might turn around to take this fight over here using the hill. Not really. So, once again, Liereyy is gonna start with deficit over here. Takes 10 gold quite fast, so this is a super early militia for him. Goes for a Drush. With Japanese, that's actually a super strong Drush, and he wants to capitalize on that, but I'm not sure if Hera scouted that. If Hera scouted the barracks, which is something he did not do, he could have gone for loom, but apparently there is no loom for Hera, so this could work for Liereyy, but he needs to make sure Hera doesn't spot the militias until they get to the base of his opponent. And also, it's just 2 militias right now. The third one is just coming in here for Liereyy. This is a post-milled rush, by the way, from Liereyy, and he is behind by 1 villager because he went for loom to make sure he can lure that in. It appears that we're gonna have the scout fight over here. This is smart from Liereyy. He's keeping the militias away, making sure that his opponent does not spot them until it's not the time. Now he brings in the militias. I think this is a bad decision from Liereyy though, because now Hera can see that, and Hera's gonna make a house here immediately. I think Liereyy has showed his hand with the militias, and now they're useless. He's going to steal 2 sheep from Hera over here for a time being, but all these militias are just useless. And what? Why is Liereyy going this way? Liereyy clearly knows that Hera is here because this is the primary gold mine. Why is Liereyy going this way? This Drush didn't do anything, and as I said, the Japanese are pretty much a one-trick pony save with their militias or man-at-arms. After that, they don't have anything amazing. Whereas for Mongols, you get the fast hero, you're gonna have a great unit composition in late game. It's good news, I think, for Liereyy that Hera cannot push in his deer. That might have been the motivation of the militias, as he's killing 2 of the huntables. By the way, Hera didn't find 2 of his goats, so Hera's food eco isn't great here. He lost 2 goats to Lierey's lame. He didn't find 2 of the goats here, and he lost all the huntables that he could have pushed in. So Hera's food eco will suffer quite badly, and indeed he needs to plant 2 farms before getting horse color in here. Hera has 6 HP on that scout, 4 for Liereyy. Hera will turn back once he reaches Feudal Age, or he can just use the elevation or take 2 hits. He could have waited until Feudal Age, get the hit and then run away, but still he has his scout alive, which is a huge advantage. Lierey's rush here did not achieve anything at all, and I wonder what Liereyy is planning, but this looks like a Drush FC to me, with a map that is actually suitable for Drush FCing. And as I said, I feel like Japanese Drush FC Pike and Siege is something I can imagine here for Liereyy. And it's not necessarily the thing that you would think about, but it is a legit play, as Liereyy brings in the militias, might even pick off a Voyager. Oh, don't tell me he's gonna kill a Will here with these militias. This should not happen to Hera. He loses control over his berries for a time being, at least with a few Villagers. He's going to be fine with the quick wall, so he doesn't lose single Villager, but still, these militias are still very, very annoying. Hera will have to invest a lot of Villagers in, or a lot of food into scouts, and remember, Hera doesn't really have a lot of food in the bank right now, because he has to seed a lot of farms. Beautiful job, by the way, from Hera to keep the weak Villagers close to the TC so Liereyy cannot snipe them. Liereyy decides by trying to clean up the mill. So this forces Hera to fight, and that's fine. So the thing is that Hera cannot afford to repair this endlessly. And because of that, Hera will be forced to take this fight at some point with the scouts. But if he's doing that, he's gonna lose HP on those scouts. And this gives Liereyy time to send out the Villagers, get the hunt in. And now he is going back towards the TC with a quite decent amount of food in the bank. This looks like a relatively clean Drush FC here. And Hera's scouts aren't really paying off. In fact, Hera only made 1 extra scout with full HP. Doesn't really care about this. I think he realized his opponent is going for Drush FC and he's trying to get decent Castle Age time up himself. Liereyy, did he push in some deer? He didn't. He just took 2. The third one over there is unfinished, and he also lost 2 sheep, so he needs to plant a lot of farms. I'm not sure if he can squeeze in a +2 click up here. It looks like a little bit too food for Liereyy. Also drags away the Villagers from food. Once again, I don't like that. I think maybe a gold Villager would have been more legit at like making the blacksmiths over here instead, because Liereyy has a lot of gold in the bank that he does not need, but doesn't have food. So it would have been better to keep these Villagers on food, I believe, and use a gold Villager to make the buildings, because right now he will probably have to go +3 here. Not the end of the world, but probably could have been a little bit cleaner for Liereyy. Anyways, as I said, Hera will be forced to take this fight, and he's gonna lose some HP on those scouts. That's basically the best thing that Liereyy can get out of his militias here. Not the best fight ever for Liereyy trying to take the higher ground, but you can see that some of those scouts are kind of weak right now and will be one-shot by Spearman. It appears we are going to have a crossbow play from Liereyy. Drush FC crossbows, he's gonna have to idle his TC a tiny bit to click up. Interesting that he isn't garrisoning. Okay, now he's garrisoning to do that. A lot of idle time for Liereyy, so wasn't as perfect as it could have been. Anyways, Liereyy is on the way towards Castle Age. Hera, not even close. He's going to start making skirms, and I think skirm is actually a decent way to deal with this one. Like, Feudal Age skirms with +1/+1 will be okay against crossbows that have only Botkin arrow and no armor upgrades. So that's one thing to think about here for Hera. Just go for a skirmisher defense and then try to climb himself up into Castle Age as well with the food eco he has. The problem for Hera is that his gold mine is exposed. He is trying to delay the defensive tower, but he might need to pull the trigger on one. I think he will probably try to defend this hill with the skirmishers and just make sure he doesn't have to drop a defensive tower, and maybe then TC this gold, which is a little bit easier TCable than this elevation madness here. So I think Hera is still in an okay position though, fletching on the way for Liereyy. And I wonder if he's going to follow this up with a siege workshop and try to push, because I think he needs to. Otherwise, this isn't going to work. As I said, I feel like in late Imperial, Japanese pretty much died to Mongols, so Liereyy needs to be very, very aggressive in Castle Age over here in this one. I don't see any forward Voyager, but there is a Spearman moving forward, potentially to do some scouting, something that Liereyy is definitely in the need of, because he has lost his scout and the frame militias. That's why Hera has 4-0 KD, and he sees the skirms. So let's see what Liereyy does. Is that going to be a stable being added? There is no stable just yet. Liereyy is just massing archers back at home, but that's already skirms coming forward, and Liereyy isn't going to be able to use his castle age advantage to anything over here. Like, what now? Hera is almost ready to click up into castle age himself, and for now, Liereyy is just massing more and more archers back at home. Single TC play here from him as the second TC is coming up. This is very, very passive from Liereyy. I don't like this. He's playing super passive, and Hera already starts adding villagers to stone. If Hera gets a castle up on this hill, for example, he's gonna have super safe gold and he can start moving towards Mangadai. Now, Japanese might be able to deal with the Mangadai using skirms. Like, skirm and hub could be the idea for Liereyy if it's Imperial. But it's very hard because, like, if you go skirm and hub, Mongols can go onagers. You don't have cavalry that can snipe onagers nicely, because your cavalry will just die to Mangadai. I feel like if this goes into decent Mangadai numbers and Imperial, Hera is just going to clap Liereyy here with the army composition that he has. I really don't know what to think about Japanese. So, what is Japanese giving to Liereyy right now? Basically nothing. He used the slightly stronger militias. He is able to use the cheaper lumber camps and mining camps. Nice. But that's basically it. If this was, I don't know, Ethiopians, for example, Portuguese that have cheaper gold units, this could be done just as well. So this is why I don't understand the Japanese pick. It feels like there isn't really any major bonus that you would get with Japanese over here. Liereyy has quite a lot of crossbows in here, no ballistics for him, so he is very reliant on his own micro here. Double defensive towers from Hera, so he knows that those wood lines are crucial for him, and wants to make sure that Liereyy is unable to deny them. Nice perception over there from Hera, knowing that Liereyy will come for his wood lines. This tower defense looks like a campaign mission right now, as some will call Peta, as Hera is taking down some of those camels. He's got the hill and he's got +1/+1. This is a fight that Hera could try to take, but even if it doesn't take it, immediate elite skirm could be the name of the game here. Liereyy is just stubbornly going crossbows against the skirmishers. Right now, it's 1-for-1 trade, but this is actually going to end up being better for Hera by far. Liereyy is on 2 TCs, Hera will be on 1 for some more time because he's just going up to Castle Age. But this is looking like elite skirm resources. You have that for Hera. Goes elite skirm, goes Botkin, and you will have that army from Liereyy going down quite fast indeed. Leather arch armor first. This is interesting. I think Hera had a Twitter post about this one, that in a skirmisher versus archer fight, armor is actually more important than Botkin arrow. Now, it's a little bit harder to micro because you have one less range compared to the crossbows. Elite skirms will have 5+1 without Botkin, and crossbows will apply +2, but the extra armor helps immensely for skirmishers. So, this is an interesting thing that not a lot of players do, but Hera specifically does, and he believes that the extra armor is actually a little bit more important than Botkin. Now that he has the time to go for that, he's gonna go grab Botkin as well. But with the extra armor, he's gonna rain down death and destruction on top of Lierey's units. Does Liereyy have a stable? He's just getting the first stable up, but by the time that happens, Hera is gonna be at Knights and Elite Skirms. I don't like Lierey's pure crossbow play here. Once again, we see a Japanese play with what seems to be a kind of sloppy game plan. I don't know what Lierey's plan here was. He just went for a standard Rush FC with Japanese, and that is it. And this is not an efficient trade for Liereyy by any means. He's going to lose quite a lot of crossbows in this one, and it's just better for Hera. He can replenish the skirmishers much easier than Liereyy can with the crossbows. Now, Liereyy does have a nice and comfy 10 villagers lead here, to be precise, but Hera has wheelbarrow, so that's just a 7 villagers lead in reality. So, at this point, it's 7 villagers lead for Liereyy. Hera is playing with 1 TC. He could drop a second TC if he wanted to. Now, there is going to be double, triple stable knights here for Liereyy. Maybe he wanted to force Hera to go for 4 skirms and then switch into knights. Problem is that, as I said, Japanese knights don't scale really well against Mongols, because in Imperial, even though they do have cavalry available, they're missing +4 armor, so they will pretty much just die to any kind of ranged cavalry, or anything that's ranged basically from Mongols. Now, this is going to be a cleanup from Liereyy, make no mistake. Those crossbows are, or those skirms are pretty much dead. So... What? I mean, Hera doesn't have a good wood line. So, it makes some sense, but I'm not a big fan of this TC spot by any means. Considering that there is a wood line over here, this could be a TC over here instead. Like, I understand why he's not moving to the left side, as he's trying to micro away his skirmishers from Lierey's knights. Liereyy should be able to clean this one up. The best Hera can try here is try to pick off some crossbows, but that's not gonna happen because Lierey's micro is crystal clean. And Mongols are still vulnerable to aggression in like mid to late castle age, so this is the window for Liereyy to do the damage against the Mongol splitter with knights and crossbows, but he needs to hurry because the longer he delays himself, the higher chance of Hera getting to a castle and getting to Mangudai will be. Right now Hera only has one Voyager on stone though, so this is not really an immediate danger for Liereyy. But yeah, knight and crossbow should be slightly better than the knight and skirm play from Hera. Hera does have no upgrades on those knights. Liereyy does have +1 armor, no bloodlines. Crossbows on the other hand have no extra armor. Bloodlines on the way for Liereyy as well. So this is looking like a decent fight for Liereyy, and suddenly he's taking over in this game. Mongols have a significant weakness in like mid to late castle age when they just don't have the Mangudai yet. Still, I'm puzzled why Liereyy picked Japanese for this, because there is so many civs that you can do the same thing with. So I'm still not sure why Japanese is the specific selection for Liereyy for this game. He's microing away his skirms from the knights. Nice place from Hera so far. Another monastery comes in here. I think Hera knows he might lose this monastery because with the heal advantage, Liereyy is just trying to bash down that monastery. Stable is on the way. So there is going to be potentially a few camels being added by Hera, or he just wants to double down the knights and overrun his opponent with better knight numbers. +2 armor is on the way, but no bloodlines. On the other side, it's +1 armor, but bloodlines. Relatively even, I would say in that aspect. Forging is on the way for Liereyy. I think forging actually is a little bit more important indeed here, because you're fighting against knights and skirms. You are fine with +1 armor against skirms, so forging could be a little bit more helpful. And one thing that Hera doesn't really have is the eco. 74 to 63 is the Voyager count. It is Liereyy that is booming on 3 TCs. Hera is just about to get his 3rd TC up, if I'm not mistaken. He's got one over here, and yeah, indeed, the 3rd TC is coming up on that gold mine. Hera definitely is struggling for wood control, and there isn't really a lot of great wood lines on this map to work with. Same for Liereyy, so he's somewhat struggling for that. Goes for 4 on stone, so that could be castle very soon. And Japanese traps will easily outmatch the Mongol traps. That's something to consider. So Liereyy could be thinking, okay, I'm gonna make some castles, play rather defensive, and then try to push with my trebuchets so I can knock down the castles and prevent Hera from making Mangudai. Now, Hera has 5 villagers on stone, still very far away from Mangudai, and if you look at Lierey's resources, he could be considering going into Imperial here. And with a rather fast Imperial Arbalest play here, getting a castle up, for example, on this hill, and then pressuring Hera's eco, that could be great. Hera will find the overchop so the knights cannot break in. But in the meanwhile, knights also pressuring the left side of Hera's base, and Hera is under more and more pressure, and Liereyy goes for iron casting here, so basically no Imperial on the horizon for him anytime soon. Pushes the gold mines. Remember that all of the gold mines here from Hera are dangerously exposed, and if you look at Hera, he's got 3 villagers on gold right now, making 7 now that the villagers aren't popped here. Liereyy knows exactly that all 3 of those gold mines are there, and he's just doing his best to deny those. Skirms jumping back into the TC once again. Nice micro from Hera. Now the skirms pop out and go for the crossbows. Pick off 1. Monks are getting sniped down over here. This is a very, very tight battle, and I think Hera might be winning this fight over here. Heal advantage now on the side of Liereyy. No ballistics on his side, neither it is on Hera's side. But Hera's knights with +1/+2 are kind of defeating Lierey's +2/+2 knights here because of the better numbers for Hera. Now, however, Liereyy grabs the hill, and he's gonna have a lot of crossbows to take this fight. Hera decides to destroy that monastery because he has a second one, and he wants to get a good surround on top of those crossbows. This is a good fight for Hera. This is a very, very good fight for Hera. Liereyy is still trying to bring in some more reinforcements, but I think this is better for Hera, and he is going to be winning this kind of narrowly, I would say. But indeed, Liereyy is forced back. Hera can reinforce the front line now. He can add 1 or 2 camos because Liereyy is out of crossbows. And once again, Liereyy is just keeps adding knights. But I cannot help but wonder the Japanese pick here. Really? 0% win rate, and there is a reason for that. What Liereyy is doing can be done with any other civilization that has an okay crossbow build and has some acceptable knights. Really, there's nothing special about Japanese for this type of build. And in the meanwhile, he isn't able to push Hera enough to stop Hera from getting up to Mangudai, because now Hera has 12 on stone. Hera will likely try to get a castle up on top of this hill, which would be pretty nice to have, and then start transitioning to Mangudai. Once we are at Mangudai numbers, I don't think that Liereyy can win this game. So once Mangudai start coming in, this is going to be insanely hard. Monk versus Monk over here, but Hera's defense force here looks pretty good, and Liereyy goes for Pikeman. Pikeman here is just a death sentence. So, like, he's probably trying to somehow win this game, like, maybe with gold pressure. I think the only win condition for Liereyy here is gold pressure. If he can somehow force Hera off from gold and prevent him from getting there, because of that, Hera should make a defensive castle here. If he makes a defensive castle here or here, he's gonna have saved gold mines and Liereyy cannot do anything. Scale mail on the way for Liereyy as well. Hera has a large amount of knights over here. He's got a TC fire supporting, he's got elite skirms. I like that he's healing the elite skirms as well. So he keeps them alive. He could add a few more so he can deal with the pikeman. Nice quick wall from Hera once again to prevent the cavalry from running inside. Hera, I think, has got +2/+2 very soon, same as Liereyy does. And that's a nice raid from Liereyy though. I really like that. Finally hitting the gold mine. He has a massive eco lead compared to Hera. On the other hand, he's going directly towards the gold mine, also taking this engagement. Skirms could focus down the pikeman, but that's a lot of knights from Hera, and he has very, very close reinforcements. More and more pikes coming in here from Liereyy. Liereyy wants a castle in the face of his opponent. Hera, on the other hand, he could... Yeah, this is... No way. I think the winner of this game is going to be decided by the outcome of this fight, and I think Liereyy is actually doing this. He cannot sustain this level of fighting and this level of production, but he might be able to delay Hera so he can get a castle up on top of this hill and kind of deny some wood from Hera. Now, this shouldn't really be a big concern for Hera, if you ask me, because Hera still could move to other wood lines over here or here. But for whatever reason, both of these players consider this hill very, very significant, because this is one of Hera's wood lines. Liereyy, apparently the Japanese pikemen pay off, and this might be basically the only reason why Japanese are good here. They have the infantry attack bonus. I think that even standard pikemen with +2/+1 would have been efficient enough here for Liereyy to take that fight. And now it's a patterned race, if I'm not mistaken. Nope, Hera is making Mangudai. Hera is trying to squeeze some Mangudai out. I like this more for Liereyy now, because Liereyy is now raiding the gold mines of his opponent. It's 19 military compared to just 6, and Liereyy is gonna have the petards. If Liereyy gets the petards in, he can just take that castle down. There's no more Mangudai. On the other hand, if Hera squeezes out a few Mangudai, he can be so annoying with those. He's got 5 on stone, but only 7 on gold because of all these raids. 134 villagers compared to 105, and 150 pop against 109 only. I think that Hera is not going to be able to do this. He's trying to get some more stone income. If he gets to good Mangudai numbers, it's fine. But we have said this so many times. With the Mongols, you are most vulnerable probably in a mid to late castle age. That's exactly what we're seeing. Lierey's got an amazing macro behind this one. All of that fighting, and he's still having 140 villagers just spamming knights. Basically a castle age all in here for him. He knows that in Imperial he's going to lose to the Mangudai. And that's exactly what we're seeing. Just sends in more and more knights. Hera tries to trap the knights. They're unsuccessful in that. And indeed, there is the petards being queued up. There is also a battering ram on the way. There is basically no chance for Hera to take that battering ram down, because villagers jumping out to take that down would be killed by the castle. And I think now Liereyy has this game. Not a fan of his game plan by any means. I don't like the Japanese. I don't like the crossbow play here. but at the end, he just overrun Hera with Knights and Pikemen, and that was enough. The castle goes down, and Liereyy is clicking Imperial. I don't think this was Japanese versus Mongols. This was more about Liereyy versus Hera, and Liereyy just played better in this game. Had an amazing macro behind this one, and as I said, I'm pretty sure that Liereyy would have done this with 90% of the civilizations that have a good archer line and some okay knights. Because as you see, in Castle Age, Japanese are fine with their knights. In Imperial, that's their weakness. Hera is not ready to give this one up. He doesn't want to give match point to Liereyy here. But once in Imperial is in, I think there is going to be no chance for Hera. Knights can just bash their way through the houses or just run into the eco of Hera. And if Hera loses villagers here, he's not going to be able to mass Mangudai. Or the problem here is that he has very, very little Mangudai numbers. Some T90 farms being dropped over here on the right side. And look at that. Look at that Wood eco for Hera. Liereyy could just drop some towers, go for the Asama Guard towers, and deny the Wood income as well for Hera. It is somewhat puzzling for me that Hera is contesting these Wood lines instead of this one. Because this one is a good one. Maybe he wanted to save this for very, very late game, but he pretty much died fighting for this Wood line that might not have been that much needed for him. So look at that. He's going for other stone mines. He just wants to spam castles everywhere, but the thing is that Liereyy is going to be an Imperial, and Arbalest will beat down Hera here. Hera with Guard Tower, interestingly. But once again, Hera is just dropping in villager count. It's 120 pop against 150. Liereyy, I don't see Liereyy losing this one now. Because now, Liereyy is going to have a trap here. He can trap down these TCs, and he can actually progress towards trapping this one down. Liereyy is going to drop a castle here. This one would be a decent castle spot for Liereyy as well. And Hera, 120 villagers, he's doing a decent job rebooming here, and he's getting the gold mines and the stone mines. Light came on the way for Liereyy. Technically, if Hera gets the good Mangudai numbers, it could still be winnable for him. The question is he gonna get the good Mangudai numbers? Because he has one castle to play with. He's probably trying to desperately rush up another castle. Like, look at all that stone. He probably wants a castle over here as well on top of this hill. And if he gets good Mangudai numbers, it's insanely hard for Japanese because they don't have the mobility to deal with Mangudais. Like, elite skirms aren't really going to catch up with Mangudai. But on the other hand, as I said, Liereyy is gonna have the trebs in here. He can start taking down the buildings. Would be very nice if he took down the blacksmith, because that delays Hera's blacksmith upgrades. And also, wood income isn't great for Hera. He's trying to get wood from here, as Liereyy is also kind of starving for wood here. We'll have an outpost on the left side. Liereyy is going to spot this so he can send some units to deal with that. And the second castle is up. I think Liereyy is still on a timer, because as I said, if Hera can just mass the Mangudai, which is something he's doing quite fast, then Liereyy could still be in trouble. But on the other hand, Hera is losing a lot of villagers on the wood lines. No steady and consistent wood income. He's got his gold mines denied here as well, so right now Hera has 0 villagers on gold, because he's making a castle over here. There is probably going to be battering rams. Now that is actually a decent fight for Hera over there with a Mangudai. He's got +2 armor. Liereyy also has +2 armor with the Arbs. Thumbring is coming in, but this is still something that Liereyy should be able to win. Indeed, he is picking off those Mangudai, and Hera decides, okay, I lost my Mangudai, I just can't do anything here. If he doesn't get the good Mangudai numbers, he's dead. He loses the TC, so all these villagers are dead. Lost both of his TCs here. He would have been castle dropped here on the left side. So, with that, I still massively dislike Lierey's selection of Japanese here. I just don't know why he went for that. But Liereyy is going to be the player that makes the first win of Japanese in this tournament. So far they were 0-4-5. Now they have won a game out of 6. Liereyy, this wasn't about the Japanese eco, this was Lierey's macro behind all the microing and all the raids that he was doing. Excellent eco for Liereyy. 24,000 food compared to 16,000, 13k gold compared to 8k. He has had a massive boom by the end of the game. So Liereyy at match point, 1 game away from eliminating his teammate from King of the Desert free and moving on to the semifinals in Red Bull Volo free. Liereyy defeated Hera for free. Now he is close to defeating him 2-1, but we have seen that Hera is not the type of a person who gives up easily. We have had some very, very good performances from Hera in recent memory, and even the second game after the first loss to Liereyy was very, very convincing. So, because of that, I believe that Hera has all he needs to climb back into the series, but losing Mongols against Japanese is not ideal, I would say, because Mongols is a pretty strong civilization over here. So, I'm going to restart my game once again, and that should prevent any spectating issues. So, let's see what we have. Liereyy used up Malian's Frank's Japanese. He could pull the trigger on Chinese now, to be honest, but I think he might still be waiting for Mayans. Any of these three civilizations can be legit for Liereyy. But I think Chinese will definitely be used, just because they are Chinese and they're a strong and good civilization. So it's either Chinese, like if we go to 5 games, it's either Chinese plus Celts or Vietnamese. I think Vietnamese is only something that Liereyy would use if he wants to lame though. So there is just a chance that... Actually, I would like to see Liereyy going for Vietnamese here. Just for the sake of... even if you don't necessarily lame, you can just move forward immediately, steal some sheep. I don't think that he should lame a boar, but if he can steal 2 or 4 sheep from Hera, Hera is already behind by 1 game. It could hurt Hera quite massively. Other hand, Hera, Mongol, or Slavs or Mayans probably. I would make a bet on Mayans right now, but there is a decent chance for Slavs as well. So that is relatively even in that aspect. So, let's see what we have here. We have the next game up. Perfect. So we are going into game number 4 over here. So let's see. Game number 4, Mayans versus Celts. So Liereyy is going to go with Celts. Not a bad decision, I believe. In fact, I actually like this quite a bit. And once again, a super close spawn. This might be the closest spawn I've ever seen in the tournament so far. Liereyy is going to be the left red player in Celts, and right side it is Hera as Mayans in blue. So, taking a quick look at the Hera's base, this is everything you can ask for. Look at that. Stone at the back, gold at the back, and food at the back. Well, not really at the back, but this is still safe. Super easy wall off on the right side. This left side is a little bit open, but you don't really have to commit a lot to walling this. Of course, you will still be left without a super safe woodline, so all of this can be denied from the other side. But let's be honest, this is a great map for Hera for Mayans. Other side for Liereyy, this is an awful map. The gold can be acceptable, even though it really is painful that you cannot actually drop a mining camp from their side. This is not an admin restart type of a gold, it's just an annoying one. Woodline is basically the only woodline for Liereyy over here. Stone is okay, and he could use this part of the base to wall it off. Hera coming in with his own scout right now, getting some scouting info in. So yeah, Liereyy's base isn't horrible, but it's not great by any means. The berries are exposed. It's not a great map. Now, let's see what Hera knows, because apparently he's turning back. Oh, that's so bad for Hera. He thought Liereyy is here, and he's just missing on the stone mine by a few tiles. So he's looking for Hera over here. Both players are scouting in the blind. Look at that. They have no idea where the opponent is. Liereyy is looking here for Hera. He's not there. Even worse for Hera, he came forward quite fast with that scout. He just has no idea where Liereyy is. Because if he goes a few tiles more forward here, he would have actually found the stone mine, and that's a clue that Liereyy is there. But right now he has absolutely no idea, and he might even be misled by the fact that Lierey's scout is coming in from this direction. So he might think, okay, Liereyy came from this direction, Liereyy might be here or something. Or maybe even here. But I don't think that Liereyy is actually going to see... Oh, that's bad. That's very, very bad for Liereyy. Loses a lot of HP on his scout here. At least he finds Hera's TC, he can say that. So that's a positive. Anyways, we are gonna have post-mill barracks over here for Liereyy. This looks like a drush timing, although it could be a fast feudal. I didn't see how many deer were pushed in. No deer were pushed in, so this is definitely a drush play from Liereyy here. This is too early for a Man-at-Arms build. And Celtic militias can be super devastating over here. No militias just yet coming out from Liereyy. Goes for Loom. Is he planning on a fast Man-at-Arms build? This is 21 pop Man-at-Arms, but I'm a little bit concerned that Liereyy is not going to have the food to do that. Yeah, there is no way Liereyy is going to have the food. Especially, like, he force dropped the berries and now they are not working. They are freaking out. Liereyy will have a lot of idle time doing this 21 pop build. He tried 21 pop Man-at-Arms, and not a bad idea, but he basically had so much idle time that this actually counts as a 22 pop Man-at-Arms build. So if you look at the timing, it's 10 minutes. If you want to go 21 pop, this means that you go... Oh, Hera's also going to lose his Eagle. Oh, Liereyy trying to block it. And that is Hera losing his Eco at the end of the day. It's important that Liereyy has kept his scout alive, because now he's going to be able to get some additional information. So basically 21 pop with Loom is 19 times 25 seconds. That's what you have to calculate. Which means 475. Which is 7 minutes. And what? Yeah, 7 minutes something. I might need to redo the math here because there isn't really a lot of things happening right now. So let's do the math once again. So 19 times 25, right? I'm gonna do the maths once again. 21 pop is actually just 18. I'm dumb. It's 18. Because you need to make 17 villagers. That's 18 times 25. Because you also have to account for Loom. 450. You divide that by 60, which means 7.5 minutes. So there was 20 seconds idle time on Lierey's town center. A villager takes 25 seconds to create. So basically, despite the fact that Liereyy wanted to go up with a 21 pop up time, he eventually ends up with a 22 or a 22 pop up time, but with also one less villager. So this didn't pay off well for Liereyy, unfortunately for him. There's the militias coming in from Hera, and Liereyy might be a little bit surprised over here because those will not just be militias, those will be men-at-arms, and maybe he did not expect the men-at-arms play from the Mayans player over here. Liereyy already is behind Nico because of that potato build, and now he's gonna lose another villager over here, and this is not looking great for Liereyy. This is actually looking awful for Liereyy. He's gonna lose all the berries. And I think the Man-at-Arms already did the damage, and now they're heading towards the gold mines, maybe try to pick off one more villager before they get killed by the archers. Not looking great. Liereyy has one militia left that isn't really going to achieve a lot. So this wasn't rushing to... Like, this I think wanted to be a Man-at-Arms play from Liereyy, but I think after the kind of bad uptime that he had, he kind of canceled that, loses another villager. I think we're getting closer and closer to going into a decider game here. Because... this is 27 wheels compared to 22. Neither of the players have wheelbarrow, and no matter how hard I'm looking at it, this is a 6 villagers lead for Hera. I don't know how that happened. There is no way. Liereyy lost 2 villagers. One comes from the Mayan bonus, that's free, and Liereyy had idle time for one more. That's 4. This should be at most 4 villagers difference. We have 6. This means that Liereyy had at least one more minute of TC idle time right now. which is a disaster. He's behind by 6 villagers. And at this stage of the game, being behind by 6 villagers, this is just not gonna work for Liereyy. Even with great micro, even with great execution, unless he can kill some villagers from his opponent fast, this isn't gonna work, because your opponent is just gonna outboom you in terms of economy, and he will be better up into Castle Age, and very, very likely that we would see something like an Eagle switch from Hera in Castle. I don't really know what Liereyy could do here. I don't think that he knows. This makes you wonder if Capture Age is broken. I don't think it's broken, Abducted Platypus. I'm honestly not sure. But yeah, it's weird that Liereyy fell behind this much. Because, if you do the math, it shouldn't be like this. Although, look at this, Liereyy getting housed. So, technically, it is possible Liereyy just had a bunch of idle time on the TC while he was running away with the villagers. I don't know. But I think that this is actually the accurate number. So, I think Liereyy just had a lot of idle time and lost a lot of villagers, but no matter what... Actually, you know what? Let's see if this slider is wrong or not. No, this is right. Selecting all the villagers of Liereyy, this is actually 29. So, on the other hand, I'm going to manually count these villagers, and manually counting, this is 35 versus 29. And this is not part of Capture Age, this is the in-game part of the overlay. So this is not a bug in Capture Age. This is a legit villager count, which is huge. Like, I'm not the type of person that likes to say, okay, GG, because that feels like kind of demotivating and just boring for the viewers. But let's be honest, this is nearly impossible for Liereyy. 6 villagers at this skill level is just absolutely insurmountable as a lead. Now, having said that, if Liereyy is able to break in here and pick off 2 or 3 villagers, things are completely different. Archer Armor is coming in here for Hera. Okay, Hera is gonna do Market Wall, so he's fine. Did he lose 2 villagers at Berries? I think he just lost 1. But even then, 2 villagers at Berries, 1 at Woodline, 1 idle time, and 1 villager from the Mayan Extra. That is still just 5. We are down by 6, actually 6.5 villagers now. So even that doesn't add up. That has to be at least 30, 40, 50 seconds of idle time. Because it's consistently 7 villagers advantage right now, although that's because Liereyy is now going for Wheelbarrow. But I think that was at least 30, 40, 50 seconds of idle time as well, Liereyy. Probably when his berries got pressured and he was probably too focused on not dying. Now he's gonna have some strong wall-offs, and all these walls might be completely useless because he did not scout that there is a massive opening there. I swear if he leaves this open, that's going to be the ultimate disaster for him. Just more and more skirms for the Hera for now, going up to Castle Age. Liereyy is not that much behind, surprisingly though. If Liereyy can pull a game back from 6 villagers deficit, I'm gonna tip my hat and say, oh yeah, he deserved this, because he's, like, if he can pull a game back from that big eco differential, then he can do anything. So right now, what is Hera up to? This looks like pretty much just elite skirms from him. No second barracks for an Eagle switch, no Eagles being produced, and that is a nice snipe from Liereyy, picking off a farmer from Hera. Hera does have some farmers inside the TC as well, alongside a few Eagles and skirmishers. And it looks like this is going to be pure skirm. This is actually bad, I believe, because if Liereyy just goes for double stable knights, he is going to be fine. And Liereyy, come on. You can't make mistakes like this if you want to be in the semifinals. Look at this. He's like double layering all the walls he has. Houses everywhere just to make sure your opponent doesn't break through. And there is like a 20 tiles wide gap on the left side of his base. It's just annoying. If he gets pushed in there, he's going to be so annoyed at that. Anyways, mixture of archers and skirms is the name of the game for Hera over here. He could try to get some Vulture picks from the other side of the walls, but I feel like Liereyy can hold for a brief amount of time. Liereyy is without extra armor on his units, so this could be a fight that Hera can take pretty nicely. Intercepts the reinforcements. This is actually a pretty good fight for Hera, even though he is fighting without the Castle Age upgrades, so not the best that could possibly happen for Hera. But he still decimates Lierey's numbers quite significantly, adds a university for fast ballistics, and we will follow up with what is some more elite skirms. Alright, here it is, elite skirms. Micring against Liereyy is always tough, but I think Liereyy is probably on the way to drop a stable now. No stable just yet from Liereyy, interesting. This might be a siege workshop then from Liereyy. Ballistics on the way for Hera. And behind this, he could still prepare an Eagle Switch if he wants to. I think the reason why he's hesitant at bringing in an Eagle Switch is because his opponent could go Knights. And he probably doesn't want that. Right now, it's Elite Skirm and a Crossbow here as well. But there's already Crossbow for Hera. Getting Ballistics in here. Hera is taking a good fight. And Hera is going to find this. This is super important. And if Hera plays smart, he's going to realize that he must not show it. He must not show it to Liereyy. Liereyy is losing his entire army here on the front line. Liereyy is going to be dead. He's behind by 10 villagers, even though Hera does not have Wheelbarrow, so that's just a legit 7. But Liereyy has no army, and more importantly, I think what Hera is going to do is sneak a villager in. Or the other option is just to keep that one open and get a critical mass of crossbows, let's say 10 crossbows, loop around, get into the eco of your opponent and finish him off. I think the best move from Hera here would be to try and sneak a villager in here. Or maybe he thinks that Liereyy is not voting like this. That could be the reason. Maybe Hera just thinks, okay, Liereyy is vote here. And that's why he's not trying that. That could be the reason, but if he sees the walls here, he should know that this is just a mistake from Liereyy. Like, honestly, the reason why Hera does not think this is a mistake from Liereyy is because you wouldn't assume Liereyy making these big mistakes. That is a mistake from Hera eating a big mango shot, but he still has 4 crossbows in here. Second mangonel is in here for Liereyy, but that could be one more villager killed. Indeed, one more villager goes down, and now Hera can just sit in the face of that mangonel, beautifully microed, picks off another villager, and now he's gonna go for the mangonel. Another mangonel is on the way for Liereyy as he's adding knights. Villager coming in. Liereyy is just losing way too many villagers in here. That's just way too many walls. These crossbows will get cleaned up, but it doesn't really matter that much, as it appears that Hera is going to switch back into just pure crossbow play now that he has the advantage. This series looks like we are going to see 5 games right now. And I'm somewhat happy about that, to be honest, because it's great to see these players performing the way they do. So, with that, Hera is adding Scale Mail, and here comes the Ego Switch, something that Celts will somewhat struggle against in like mid-Castle Age. Because like, the Knights aren't amazing, especially if there is crossbow support from the Mayan players, and technically they can go longswords, but they don't have the mobility with those. Once they get to Vault Raiders, they're fine against the Eagle Switch, but for now, those Eagles could be pretty dangerous, and they also serve the purpose of trying to snipe down some Mangonels here, and just be an auxiliary unit to the Crossbowmen. Now, it is 2 TCs for Hera, actually 3 TCs with Ballistics, whereas for Liereyy, he is playing with 1, just 16 villagers lead right now. And it is growing and growing and growing. This is going to be harder and harder for Liereyy to pull back, and after Liereyy wins game number 1 and 3, Hera could answer with game number 2 and 4 to make it an even series. Let's see, I think right now, Hera is just waiting for the opportunity to pop out the Eagles. He waited for Eagle Warrior, now moves in, tries to snipe the Mangonel, splits away. That is one Mangonel that's gonna be killed, the other one is super weak as well. Crossbows raining on death on the Knights, one more. Ego pops out, beautiful micro from Hera, eats one big mango shot, but I think that was still good enough for him. He's got the crossbows to deal with the knights that do not have bloodlines and +2 armor. This was a pretty good fight for Hera. Basically everything he could ask for. He already has a lead, but now that fight was absolutely outstanding for him. He can make a mixture of crossbows and eagles. He's gonna have a way better eco. Adds a lot of Voyagers to Stone. He's got 10 there, so that eventually will transition into a castle somewhere around over here, or maybe this part of the base. And when that happens, plumed archers will start popping out. Once again, Hera might snipe that mangonel. Indeed, disengages with the eagles, and Liereyy is just gonna call it. He knows exactly he cannot push his opponent. He probably knows that he lost a lot of vultures, and he's playing with one TC. Liereyy is a smart enough player to know that Hera is playing with multiple TCs, even if he hasn't scouted them. So he knows exactly he was behind an eco. He just looks at the score, 3.2 against 4.6. He probably was counting on this push to make a difference, but Hera's exceptional micro here, really just, that's a top-notch micro that we have seen here. Wins the game for Hera, and what a better way to end this day than a decider game between Hera and Liereyy. The stakes are super high. Whoever gets into the semifinals will be decided by the upcoming game. It doesn't matter what you did in this tournament before. It's just one game. One game deciding the outcome of this series, and also deciding which Tempo Storm player is going to be in the semifinals on the upper brackets. We're going to take a brief look at the civilizations of the players very, very soon. Hera and Liereyy so far very, very close in skill. I feel like both of these players would deserve getting into the semifinals. It's a little bit unfortunate that they meet each other in the quarterfinals, but we talked about this before, that it is the way the brackets shaped out, thanks to the fact that, you know, there were a lot of upsets in previous rounds. And now we are going to take a brief look at the remaining civilizations. Liereyy loses Celts and Mayans are gone for Hera. This is the big decision. I think it's going to be a Slavs versus Chinese play. Slavs versus Vietnamese could also happen, but I think you gotta pick Chinese here. You cannot go and have your Chinese unpicked. It matters a lot, especially considering that against the Knight play of against the Knights play of Slavs, Chinese have the camels, whereas Vietnamese do not. So because of this, I think that it has to be Chinese. I wonder if Hera's gonna pull the trigger on Burmese. I don't think he will. Unless he has like a master plan with that. But whatever he does, if he picks Burmese, that's going to be a controversial decision, even if he wins. Like, unless he has the most amazing game plan ever, I don't think he should go for Burmese here. It is just so dangerous, and there is so much on the line that you don't want to make a decision like that. You just don't want that to happen. All right. So, yeah, indeed, this is basically a punishment for Liereyy. This is really the punishment for Liereyy for not beating Doubt in a previous, or like the group stage. So, it's not really the brackets being wrong. The brackets are completely fine. It's about the fact that there were so many upsets and so many surprising results that at the end of the day, you end up with a bracket that has most of the top players on the top part of the bracket and most of the kind of weaker players, you would say, on the bottom part of the bracket. But, well, it is what it is, right? So it's the performance of the players that really shaped the brackets the way it was shaped. So, yep, it is what it is, right? Okay. So, I think the players are getting ready. I hope at least. And there is no lobby up just yet. So we'll probably take a few more minutes until we get there. Probably both of the players are taking a very, very short break because it's totally understandable that they need a break right now. Like, this is so much on the line. They probably are both very, very stressed. And, well, we'll see how it shapes out. So, where are the players? That's the question. So, well, one more look at the civilizations while we're waiting for the players. So here we do have Chinese and Vietnamese left versus Burmese or Slavs. As I said, I feel like it has to be Slavs from Hera, and for that the response from Liereyy should be Chinese. I really don't know what Hera wanted with Burmese, and unless he has a crystal clean plan of using them, I feel like that's a wasteful spot in your draft, because there could have been a save that's a little bit more legitimate for a 1v1 play. Like, Khmer and Aztecs are banned, but for example, let's say picking Incas or picking Berbers or picking Ethiopians, Lithuanians were picked, Malians were picked as well. There weren't really a huge amount of amazing civs left, but I still believe that Burmese here is a little bit questionable for a decision, and I'm not sure what Hera was planning with that. So, we are going back into the lobby, and we have a game. So game number 5, decider game between Liereyy and Hera. The tempo showdown will end over here, and as expected, it's a Slavs versus Chinese play. I still don't know what Hera was planning with Burmese, but I feel like that might have been a spot wasted in his draft, unless he had a massive plan for Burmese. If he gets into the next round, maybe we're going to see that, maybe we're not going to. But he needs to get there, and we are going to have Liereyy with Chinese on the right side as red. Left side is Hera in blue as the Slavs. Looking at the maps of the players, you got the gold mine that's okay for Hera, I would say. The Wolof is rather easy. Berries are not so nice, but he's got a nice amount of wood lines at the back of his base. You got Liereyy with the Chinese in front. He's got okay berries, gold mines are acceptable, and the base is rather vulnerable for both players. So I would say that the decider game comes with a rather even map for the two players. I'm actually happy about this. I think it's important that the final game that decides everything does have a relatively even map. The stone spots aren't so great for Hera, but he's got one that is like acceptable. Whereas for Liereyy, he's got quite bad stone spots. But I think the wood, food, and gold are all rather safe for both players. So, let's see. Liereyy is coming forward quite fast with that scout, looking for his opponent, unable to find him, but he might bump into the secondary gold here. Hera looking for his opponent. He is going to find the wood line. Same thing for Liereyy, I believe. I think Liereyy knows that Hera is probably around here. If your opponent is not here at this part of the map, then it's probably over here. But Liereyy turns in the wrong direction. He sees the 4 tiles of gold. And now I think he knows that Hera must be around over here. Meanwhile, for Hera, he already has found his opponent, sees the gold mines, and sees the berries, sees the wood lines over here. He's got a very, very detailed scouting. I think Hera also saw that Liereyy has his scout around his base. Liereyy will spot the barracks. This is a pre-milled rush from Hera over here for what could be an archer's play to surprise your opponent with Slavs. Not something that's very, very conventional, but it could be a surprise play. Other option could be a Drush FC. A little bit dangerous from Hera, But I could imagine a Drush FC with this type of a map for Hera, and trying to go for like a Monk and Siege or Knight, Monk, maybe even Pike and Siege push in early castle. On the other side, Liereyy with Chinese. He is going to be bold in his berries. He sees the militias, I like that. He doesn't want to rely on his quick walls. He just wants to make sure he's safe. Makes the contingency walls just to make sure those militias cannot do anything to him. Same thing on the berries. Nice and big walls. Not probably the most cost-efficient walls, but in a decider game you don't want to risk anything, so I completely agree with Liereyy doing those walls. Hera, on the other hand, is not making a militia, which makes me believe that this could be a bait. What if Hera is baiting Liereyy here? And indeed, Hera is gonna do 21 pop-up. I think this is gonna be a scout's play. This is Hera's big plan here. He made the barracks before the mill, so Liereyy is going to scout it. And Liereyy scouting it thinks that this is a Drush. Liereyy probably is still looking for the Drush. I think Hera even took 10 gold from the gold mine. Now, it remains to be seen. Nope, he didn't take 10 gold. But he wanted to at some point. And this ends up being a Man-at-Arms play or maybe even a straight Archers play. Interesting decision against Chinese because Chinese will have the better Archer build, but Slavs are okay for some time. So, looking at what Hera is doing, this looks like a straight Archers build from this angle. At some point, this tried to be a Drush, but then either Hera changed his mind, or he decided, okay, I could try baiting Liereyy by dropping a barracks fast, but not using anything, and he's gonna end up doing Man-at-Arms. Interesting. That's a little bit late to start training those militias, I believe. He might still be able to squeeze all 3 of those in, so it could still be fine. But so far, I'm not sure if Hera is just indecisive or this is just some big brain play from him, because I can imagine both. I can imagine Hera trying to just mind game against Liereyy here, and I can also imagine Hera just being a little bit potato at deciding at what he wants to do. Alright, he's gonna have 3 militias out. 3 militias will be the party as well for Liereyy, but Liereyy is gonna have a slightly better feudal age time, so both players will be with Men-at-Arms. I don't think they know each other in terms of Men-at-Arms, so there is a high chance that these Men-at-Arms will just pass each other as Men-at-Arms is in for Hera. Hera actually had a better feudal age time. What am I talking about? I thought Liereyy had the better one, but it might just be my brain melting down after 9 hours of casting. Now, those militias will be hitting Hera's berries here, and Men-at-Arms is just coming in. This is not looking good for Hera. This is not looking good for Hera, because those are still walls that need to be finished. Walls are still not finished, and Hera has to abandon his berries. Meanwhile, on the other side, Hera is unable to do any damage, and that's looking very, very bad for Hera in the decider game. It's very interesting that it was game number 1 and game number 3 that Liereyy won. So Liereyy wins 1, Hera wins 1. Liereyy wins 1, Hera wins 1, and this one is looking like Liereyy is gonna have the upper hand in this. So maybe the odd games favor Liereyy here. Hera is fully walled, or at least he's going to be fully walled, but he lost 1 Voyager, and remember that he's already against Chinese, which technically have a built-in Voyager lead into them. It's going to be a rather even trade of Men-at-Arms. I think Liereyy will try to save these Men-at-Arms, but I think he just needs to try and finish off Hera's scout. Hera nicely moving away with that. So he's gonna end up losing just a Voyager to this Men-at-Arms opening, but I think that was still perfectly fine for Liereyy over there. And Liereyy will be fully walled here. Liereyy might need a defensive tower on that gold mine, but he's already making archers, whereas Hera does not have a single archer range. So these militias will not be useful for Hera right now, and I wonder what the next step is. Maybe, just maybe, he wants to boom into Castle Age. We have seen that multiple times. Like, I can see mild skirmisher defense coming in here from Hera. Like, pretty much doing few skirmishers to protect his base from the archers and just going up for castle with all those Slavic farms. That could be something to consider. I don't think he really wants to engage in an archer fight at any moment in this game, so I think that what he needs to gamble on is making a few defensive skirms and hoping that Liereyy is gonna commit a lot to the archer build. So he can just defend with the few skirms he has against the archers and try to squeeze out a slightly better cast late time than his opponent does. Now, he has added a lot of farms without horse color, and that's gonna have its economical impact in the long run. Moreover, the archers are already moving on the way towards him, and let's see, is that going to be skirms? Indeed, that's skirms. So Liereyy can do two things. He can either add his scouts and try to battle the skirms, or he can add his own skirms. Maybe he can just, oh, he needs to kill the scout. Not so great from Liereyy. He noticed this too late, loses one archer for nothing. Nice pickup from Hera over there. And this delays Lierey's push quite massively. One thing that Liereyy has as an advantage, though, is that his army is going to scale into Castle Age a lot better. And Chinese can add knights very, very happily to deal with the skirmishers of the opponent. So I think Liereyy is still fine. Both players with kind of even food count right now. Hera at 16 villagers on food, Liereyy only at 13, but Lierey's got a 2 villagers lead right now because of Chinese. That's a little bit interesting because technically he should have 2 villagers by standard with Chinese, and he also killed 1 more from his opponent. So there is a chance Liereyy had some idle time, because technically this should be a free villagers lead right now for Liereyy. You have 2 from Chinese, and you have 1 extra from the villager that was killed over there, and that could be the time for revenge here from Hera. He's got the skirms in, no fletching on either side just yet. Villagers are being pulled to tank the arrow fire, as Hera is just trying to pick off 1 or 2 archers here with the skirms, knows that he's going to lose this battle. He has just 1 range, so he cannot really hope to deal with all those archers with just skirms. Liereyy lost a will on the ranges. Ah, thanks for the info. Didn't see that, but there's so many things happening that of course we might be missing some, especially after 9 hours of casting today. So stable is up for Hera over here, and indeed, as I said, this is basically a men-at-arms into castle play. So he is going to queue up 1 more villager because he needs the second fuel age building, which is going to be a stable, even adding another one. But at the end of the day, Liereyy is not gonna have a that much worse castle age time, even though the gold count is a little bit too low for Liereyy, so probably a minute difference in cast stage time is going to be there. But by the time Hera goes for a decent amount of knights, especially considering that he has to make a blacksmith now to get the armor upgrades in, Liereyy is going to have a decent amount of archers that can be upgraded into crossbows, and I don't think that Hera will be really able to capitalize on his better cast age time here. I just don't think that's going to be a thing. Lierey's army is going to be a lot more valuable than the faster cast age time of Hera in this case. So Liereyy, indeed, he's idling his TC. I think he knows Hera is up because he didn't see a single unit from Hera for a long, long time. There is a high chance Hera is up. And indeed, he's gonna go up himself. Had some idle time, but that's still okay for him. As I said, 1.5 minute difference. That's quite a lot in cast age time, but I mean, Liereyy is fully walled, so there is no real danger or real immediate danger from his opponent of getting into his base. And also Hera needs to get his knight numbers high. He needs to get a blacksmith up now. Now, that being said, Hera could add a few skirmishers to try and deal with the archers to a certain extent. But look at this, by the time Hera reaches Castle Age, he will just have +1 armor. He's just about to click +1 armor. He is going to have a better Castle Age time, but that isn't going to show on the battlefield, because by the time he gets his knights out, and by the time he gets his upgrades in, Liereyy will also be in Castle Age with Chinese, and has a huge amount of archers here. And that's exactly what Liereyy wants. And also on the side note, Hera, especially without Horse Scholar, having to make all these buildings, he's not gonna have the resources for additional TCs, not even Siege Workshop immediately. He will be able to get a Siege Workshop up very soon, but if you look at all these farms that will be running out, 18 food, 62, a lot of these farms will run out of food. So Hera will be busy rebuilding those. Here comes the Skirmisher Horde from Liereyy. I think this is pretty much just scouting what Hera is doing, and maybe intercepting a villager that's coming forward. And Liereyy wants to keep his archers alive. I think this Skirmisher force, actually like it from Liereyy, that he detached that from the archers, so they can see if the knights are coming. Hera popping out the knights, but it's just bloodlines and +1 armor. And the +1 armor knights die pretty easily to crossbows here. Liereyy, no fast ballistics from him. Instead opts to go for a few camels, which also works just as fine. Camels and crossbows here. This is going to be insanely hard for Hera to fight against. Now there's a lot of knights coming from the other angle, and Hera now has +2 armor. Liereyy needs to bring in the camels over here, get some monastery up as well. That's probably to prevent Hera from converting his own camels. So Lierey's just gonna get a few monks out, so he can actually convert the camels that were converted before. Fast tumbling for Liereyy, I like that. So he's gonna have a huge rate of fire advantage from those crossbows. No ballistics for now. And he just added like 2 camels to try and chase down the knights. His army is a little bit slower moving, but he can just try to go straight into the base of Hera. He can knock on the walls. He can go for this wood line, for example, over here. And indeed, he's going for that. Because the knights from Hera here aren't really doing a lot of damage. And even if they were doing some damage, Liereyy can just add a few camels to deal with them. Even though Lierey's camels don't have bloodlines, don't have +1 armor, don't have +2 armor either, don't have forging, whereas for Hera, he's got the knights with soon to be +1, +2, nice second layers, and it appears that Liereyy will pull his army back. I'm not a big fan of that. I think he could just push Hera's base. He's fine with the revals here, there's absolutely nothing stopping them from revolling that. Hera is playing with 1 TC, he's got a Siege Workshop back at home with a Mangonel and a Scorpion. So he's fine and he's getting more and more knights out. I think camel heavy approach here from Liereyy could work. He's adding husbandry now so he can catch up with the knights. His camels are very, very bad though. Like these are super bad camels. Absolutely no upgrades on these. Now Liereyy is trying to cut off the escape path of Hera's knights. Indeed, Hera changes his running direction for now. Also, Liereyy does have some skirms and spears scouting. I like that quite a bit, so he's gonna have a little bit more map awareness. Now, as I said, that's a lot of knights with +1, +2 against the camels, but that might still be a large amount of crossbows to deal with. So this is still tricky. I feel like if Liereyy gets in bloodlines and +1 attack for the camels, this is still good. There is going to be a Mangonel coming in. Liereyy can pick off that Voyager. Liereyy should pick that Voyager off. Nice micro from Hera, jumping away from the arrows. Still no ballistics for Liereyy. He's got tumbling but no ballistics. So this might not be a great fight for him. Finishes off the Voyager, gets monks out on the field. There is 1 conversion, but that's basically all. And the camels are still mispositioned. I don't really like this fight for Liereyy over here, but he seems like he might still be able to win this one because he's trying to go for the Mangonel here. Picks off some knights. I think this might be enough for Liereyy with all the crossbows on the field. Trying to split away from the arrow fire is Hera, but he lost large amount of army here. 29 to 7 is the military count, and that monastery is being denied, which is a huge thing because right now there is no answer from Hera to the camels. And camels and crossbows here could be a huge headache right now. Liereyy still without ballistics and even a university. So he is not gonna get that anytime soon probably. He's just focusing on the rate of fire of those crossbows. I don't think he can really fit all those upgrades into his very, very tight resources. Now, Mangonel being repaired here by Hera, but once again, he's just losing all his knights. And Liereyy is just streaming in with more and more crossbows. This is going to work for Hera for some time, but if in this case Liereyy starts adding Villagers to Stone, let's say, Liereyy splits away from Mangonel and the camels will finish off the Mango without suffering from any losses. So if Liereyy starts adding Villagers to Stone, he can just castle drop his opponent rather soon if he feels like, okay, I got the advantage, but I'm not really having the confidence to break into the opponent's base, so I can just try to finish him off from the outside. Hera's gonna drop a TC on this other gold mine over here. He knows he could be in trouble. Liereyy focusing down on the monastery just yet. There is a considerable amount of knights inside here for Hera, alongside Scorpions and Mangonels. So I think Hera is just waiting for the opportunity to pop out the units, which might have arrived just now. Mangonels and Scorpions in here. I think once these knights are finished, Hera will pop out the knights and he will try taking this fight. Liereyy with 10 Villagers lead, and this is what I said. This is what makes Liereyy an exceptional player. It's one thing that he's microing very nicely, but the macro behind this one is absolutely stellar. He has been on 2 TCs for a large amount of time, securing a 13 Voyagers lead very conveniently, even though he is missing Boso, but he's got the numbers advantage in military by far, and he's got a stronger eco as well. Now, he does not want to take that fight, or does he? Or does he? That's another Mangonel down from Hera. Hurts so much for our Canadian. +1 armor is also coming in for Liereyy here. Oh, this is looking so good for Liereyy right now. This is just looking very dominant in this game, and this could be Hera getting out of the tournament and Liereyy advancing into the semifinals. The monastery is down. There is still a large amount of knights in there. I think Hera just wants to take one good fight here with all those knights, and because of that, Liereyy needs a lot more camos here. Hera is also waiting with these knights so he can sandwich these crossbows within his forces. On the other hand, this is a little bit ballsy from Liereyy. Yeah, indeed, he sees the flags on the siege workshop and immediately backs out. And also sees all that knight army. This is the fight for the game here, and I think that Liereyy is missing the camos to take this fight. He's got the hill, trying to micro away. Mangonel comes in here, big shot! It's a big shot! I just read the message someone said on my chat that, I mean, of course it's Liereyy, he wants to micro away from the Mangonel, and suddenly Hera is inches away from winning this game and winning the series, because he's got a massive horde of knights. What does Liereyy have? He's got a few crossbows and that's it. Liereyy needs a lot of camos ASAP. If Liereyy gets his camo numbers in, he is still fine, but that takes a lot of time. He's got no upgrades on the camos. I feel like he underinvested into the camos quite heavily, and now indeed he's dropping multiple stables. This is absolutely panic from Liereyy, by the way. He's up to 5 stables. I don't think he can make 5 stables work here. This is full panic mode from Liereyy. I don't think he expected to eat a big mango shot. I think he expected knights, but being honest, even if he expected knights, I don't think he expected that many knights to be there. Hera was piling up those knights for minutes, and it turns out it worked. As I said, Hera just needed one decisive fight, unleash that many knights so he can take the fight against the crossbows alone, and I think those knights are getting ready to break through the walls. Liereyy is in trouble. On the other hand, remember that Liereyy still has a 16 Vultures lead compared to Hera. And Liereyy is gonna have the counter unit to knights here. Apparently there is a hole, so Liereyy will be forced to take this fight with forging just coming in. +1/+2 knights, but that's a lot of camos now. Bloodlines, +1/+1 in, so once again this is still tough for Hera. Mangonels and knights versus camo crossbow. Debatable matchup, I would say, but should be camo crossbow favored because the camos can dive in and snipe the Mangonels. For now, Liereyy is running back, waiting for his crossbows to reinforce, I believe. Mangonel from Hera comes in here, lands a shot, kills none, but on the other hand, he's got the heal now to pressure Lierey's wood line. I don't think Liereyy can wait forever here and now. Hera is adding a second Brax, adding squires and pikemen. I think this is the time for Liereyy to take this fight. He is going to unleash the camos on the knights, but I think he doesn't have the numbers. It's 20-16, and you can actually account for 2 camos being converted here in this fight. He's trying to poke and probe, but that's 2 camos converted already. Maybe he wanted to get those camos converted and then take the fight. I'm not 100% sure, but he will need to fight this one. He cannot sit back and wait. He's just waiting for his numbers to pile up high, but this gives time for Hera to mix in quite a lot of pikemen. And here it comes, the big camel engagement comes in here, monks getting some conversions in, camels reaching the Mangonels, but is this enough for Liereyy? I think it's enough to hold. It's enough to hold this one, even though with the advantage of the hill and monks getting their monk juice back, they should be able to convert once again. Hera still has quite a lot of knights on the field, Liereyy coming in with more and more camels, pikemen are on the field now. Liereyy is still without ballistics, so those crossbows are still not amazing. And from a game where Liereyy was massively ahead, now we're at a stage where Liereyy is at best equal to Hera. Although Hera's eco isn't amazing. On the other hand, his push here was pretty convincing and he took some very convincing fights. Look at that, the KD 54-101. It wasn't just all those crossbows getting killed. Overall, Hera was taking rather decent engagements. He's gonna have +2/+2 on his knights very, very soon. Iron casting is also going to benefit the pikemen. So we could be in for a long game here. Because from a massive advantage for Liereyy, now we're at a point where both players are even, and that is shown by the score as well. Liereyy still has 48 on food compared to 38 from Hera, but Hera has Slavic farming, so I think that compensates a tiny bit. It appears that Liereyy is gonna go for his own pikeman as well to do this. I think Liereyy wanted to raid on these gold mines, but he sees the TCs from Hera, and Hera can catch up in villager count quite fast. He's got 1, 2, 3 TCs right now. Whereas Liereyy, I think Liereyy is also on 3, right? 1, 2, 3, yeah. Big fight could come in here. Pikemen are mispositioned. And now, Liereyy runs into the pikeman. That's very, very bad. Nice ground attack by Hera, landing the shot on top of the pikeman for Liereyy. I think Liereyy might need to bail out of this engagement once again. Although there isn't really a huge amount of pikemen left for Hera, so Liereyy might still be able to commit to this fight. Big mango shot misses its target, mangonel is down. This is the moment where you want to pull off your camels and let the crossbows finish off the pikemen. Once again, kind of an even fight, and I think Liereyy now is planning to go Imperial, and that could be the final nail in the coffin for Hera. Because if these crossbows are upgraded into arbalasts, then suddenly Hera has nothing to stop them. Finally, a university for Liereyy, as he will get ballistics right after clicking up into Imperial. And Hera does not have the gold to click him. That's the problem for Hera. He's got the food. He's getting light cav. Is he running out of gold already? No. Why is he getting light cav then? Like, light cav is a good raiding unit, I'm not gonna lie. But I feel like if you start investing your food into light cav right now, you're not gonna have the knight numbers, you're not gonna have the chance to click into Imperial here. So it is a questionable decision to see light cav here from Hera, especially considering that he doesn't have a single scout. Maybe it's a misclick? It could be a misclick for Hera. So for Liereyy, he's on the way towards Imperial. He already has a decent advantage here in this fight. 47 to 36 is the army numbers, and he's forcing Hera back quite massively. A Scorpion is in the party. I think Liereyy just needs to fall back a tiny bit, but he wants that foothold on that hill. It could be the eco advantage that carries Liereyy into the game, and I think that would be a very, very nice end to this series, because I've been emphasizing all over the place that what makes Liereyy special is that alongside the fancy and flashy micro that he has, he's got an insane macro behind this one. That's exactly what we're seeing here. It's one thing that he took the fights he took, and he had some bad fights there, but he still microed his units insanely well, and behind that, he was able to just outboom his opponent super, super hard. There is apparently some light cap being added now by Hera, but it's crossbows. I don't like that Liereyy is throwing away his camels like this, because this is definitely him throwing away his camels. With squires, this could be more halberdiers in the party as well, but I'm pretty sure Arblast will happen. Hera is going into Imperial himself, but this castle will start making traps. How are you going to stop the traps here? They can just start knocking down the stables. Also, Liereyy can start adding Chukonus if he wants to. Light cav is being added by Liereyy to potentially get some raid done. I like that because he has 5 stables, so he wants to keep those stables working and keep flooding units from those. Here comes Arbalast, here comes Bracer and Light cav. So there is some barracks for pikemen, but there is no halberdier upgrade just yet. Finally, ballistics hits for Liereyy, and he's gonna click halberdier right now. All the upgrades coming in. Hera will flank with a huge force of cavalry. And Liereyy doesn't have the camels anymore to fight against them. If Liereyy had the camels, he could just delay these a tiny bit. But now, I think Liereyy has spotted Hera moving to the right side. Indeed, he's sending back the pikemen. Hera knows that he's in trouble because he's behind in Imperial Age time. Here come the Arbalast to try and pick off the Scorpions. And Hera wants to do damage here to Lierey's eco, but halberdier comes in at the perfect time here for Liereyy. I'm not sure if he has enough army to deal with this. Yeah, indeed, there is still quite a lot of knights left for Hera, but Hera's numbers have dropped quite massively, and Liereyy can just add a few more camels and a few more halberdiers to finish this one off. Whereas on the left side, we see light cavs raiding from Liereyy. There is a massive blob of Arbalasts that is walking straight into the base of Hera, and Hera is losing a lot of farmers. 31 villagers on food right now for him, because he just has a huge amount of idols on his farming eco. meaning that replenishing the army is going to be much harder, and indeed this army gets cleaned up. Hera TCing the Stone in the north. This is for the tournament life of one of the Tempo Stone players, and it looks like Liereyy is in the driver's seat here. Has a 20 villagers lead and keeps raiding Hera's resource income. There is Cavalier coming in for Hera. He's got about 10 knights right now to get the Cavalier 4. I don't think that's enough. Of course, he can try getting some more Cavalier in, but Liereyy already has Halberdier, so it's going to be very, very tough, and Hera is losing so many villagers. 30 idols right now for Hera. He's got 18 on wood, 3 on gold, and that's what hurts the most. Light Cav, beautiful snipe by Hera on the trap. A little bit of a bad move from Liereyy, leaving that trap unprotected. And right now the Orbs are getting surrounded here. Not a good fight for Liereyy by any means, but he's got Orbs against the Knights, even though those Knights already have +4 armor. Did Liereyy just throw the game away here? Because this was an awful fight. He had a good blob of Orbs, but suddenly he doesn't really have a lot, and military numbers are dead even. Apparently, Liereyy is trying to do quite a lot of raids here, but the problem is that he doesn't have like one big army that can just finish off his opponent, right? He had the blob of Orbs that he has kind of thrown away. Now going for what is going to be Halberdiers, I assume. No traps being produced, so quite a lot of sloppiness here from Liereyy, and that's the wrong time to be sloppy, because if Hera smells the blood in the water, he could easily counterattack this with a few Cavaliers and start killing villagers from Liereyy to even the eco. That's exactly what we're seeing here on the left side. We're gonna have some Halberdiers in. So Liereyy will start losing villagers over here as well. Hera is losing them at a much more rapid pace though, so this still should be favoring Liereyy. Liereyy wants to castle drop this left side. It's a so chaotic game with just raids going in left and right. That's basically all that is happening. Hera is down to 21 military. A lot of them is Cavaliers here on the north, killing a lot of villagers from Liereyy. But Liereyy is gonna have hubs here defending, and Liereyy is going to castle drop this hill here, potentially making the wood income for Hera really low. On the other hand, Hera is dropping in villagers, 108 only, and he's got 50 idols. As much as it seemed like Hera might have a small chance to turn this one around, I feel like that is slipping away. And with 50 idols for Hera, he will not be able to replenish his army. He's got 16 farmers. He's got 16 farmers against 60 from Liereyy. Liereyy will just keep sending in Light Cav and Halberdiers into the base of his opponent, because Hera's eco is just unable to sustain that level of production required to keep pace with his Austrian opponent over here. And the more I look at this, the more it seems like Liereyy is going to be the semi-finalist. Not a lot of siege from Liereyy, and he goes for a heavy camo play. Not a bad idea, because he's fighting against a lot of cavalry and he needs mobility and anti-cavalry units here. So heavy camo could indeed be an idea as a supplementary unit to deal with the attacks of Hera. But still, Liereyy is 176 pop. He's got pretty much empty resource bank right now, but he's got a foothold here that is going to be insanely hard for Hera to clean up. Hera is down to 99 villagers, queues up more. Hera has a lot more villagers queued up. That's something that Hera loves to do. Right after he sees, or right when he sees that he's gonna get raided, he already starts queuing up more villagers, because he knows he's going to lose a few. And once again, Hera is just dropping in villager count more and more. Whereas for Liereyy, Liereyy is virtual at the steady villager count, 144, not even changing at all. Hera is down to 14 military, and as I said, replenishing the army is so hard for Hera. This TC goes down, another TC is gonna go down to a trap here, and that just leaves Hera's eco so open for raiding for the light caps. This is not one big push from Liereyy, this is just absolute raids from left, right, and just trying to cripple Hera's eco as much as possible as the Canadian taps out, giving Liereyy its shot to go into the semifinals. Liereyy edging out a victory in a very close series against Hera. This is one of those series where I think everybody would have said that this is going to be a close one. It's very tough to judge who has the upper hand. Small details decided games, really small details, and overall I cannot help but credit the eco and the macro of Liereyy, because that is what propelled him in this series. He had a way better eco in this game as well, and that is the macro behind the micro, something that a lot of people do not see. Liereyy has some very flashy micro, might be top 3 micro player in the planet, but what makes him really unique is the skills to build up a great eco behind that one. And with that in mind, Liereyy is in the semifinals, is the final semifinalist for King of Desert 3.